order at 6:15 p.m. May we please stand for the invocation provided by Reverend Margaret Smart, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we give you thanks and praise that we're able to meet again as a group to watch our city commission, to be a part of our city and the government. We thank you for the work that they have done over the pandemic. We know that they have the interest of our city at heart. And we ask you to bless each one of them, give them the strength to know and to do what is right for our community. We ask this all in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bath,
Present.
Vice Mayor Bowen,
Present.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Present.
Commissioner Marvin,
Present.
Commissioner Perez.
Present.
Interim City Manager, present. City Attorney. And City Clerk, present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, staff, and thank each of our listening audience who listening by YouTube. And thank each of you for being here in person. It's great to have our resident back in our chambers. As you are well aware, we had suspended our public meetings due to our COVID situation. Things are getting better. We do ask, though, that you continue to have some space between the seats unless you're living in the same household. And we ask and encourage in mask wearing, although it's not mandatory for masks. So again, we thank you. This workshop of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee is being presented by our commission to discuss our topic this afternoon. And at this time, I turn this portion over to our interim city manager, Jocelyn Adams, who will guide us in our discussion of our topics.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, residents. Tonight will be presented by our FDOT, and they're going to discuss and update us on State Road 700 project. FDOT, if you'll come to the...
Just at least introducing the team. Hello?
Is it on? It's on?
Hello? No?
I'm sorry, I like it.
I'm not really. Testing, okay.
Yeah.
Oh. All right. Are we going to be showing the PowerPoint? I just want to make sure it comes up. Are you guys presenting? Do you guys,
PowerPoint.
that's what I'm asking. You guys,
Yes, yes.
Just PowerPoint.
okay, sorry. Well, first I'll get started. This presentation is for State Road 700. It's for the Hurricane Irma repairs. This project, say it again? I'm sorry, somebody said that, sorry. This project purpose is to repair the damage to the canal from Hurricane Irma, as well as install safety upgrades. So I want to introduce the team. My name's Jessica Lewis. I'm the project manager for FDOT. We have Anthony Caruso. He's a senior project engineer with EXP. We have Isel Munoz with EXP. He is the project administrator. Eileen Costa is the EOR. Fernando Amando is our traffic control plan EOR. Meredith Cruz is our community outreach specialist. And you'll see we have Melissa on here on the slides, but she's not in attendance today. She'll be helping out on the back end for public outreach. So as you guys can see, we have the purpose, the length, and some other information for you to see. The construction's going to start June 1st. We do have PCMS boards out now alerting the public. Our estimated completion is fall of 2022. This project is 420 days, so therefore we're going through fall 2022. If you go to the next slide. Is the scope of work. We've got embankment repairs along the canal. We also are going to install guardrail upgrades. We also have signalization. We're going to remove this strain poles at Hatton Highway and install mast arms. And we are also going to do some pavement marking and signage as well. I'm going to turn this over to Eileen now. She is the EOR.
Hello everyone, good afternoon. As Jessica said, I'm the engineer of record. If we could go to page 5, yeah. So this project came about basically during Hurricane Irma, or in preparation, I should say, for Hurricane Irma. South Florida Water Management District conducted emergency releases out of Lake Okeechobee, the gate that is right here. The additional flows in the canal, the water level increase in the canal, there was additional velocities and additional flows on the canal, at the L10 canal along SR 700, and basically that the additional water levels and the flows caused erosion of the side slope for the roadway, which is FDOT owned. So the project is, it's mostly going to be done within the South Florida Water Management District right-of-way because it is the canal right-of-way. But FDOT applied for emergency funds from FHWA and got those funds to repair the embankment, the sloughing or the washout section. So it's not a continuous project, even though the work is over 6 miles. We're repairing about 3 miles worth of embankment washouts. The first portion is the typical section that you see here. This is basically from the northern end of the project, which is just south of that main spillway, all the way to the U.S. Sugar Railroad Bridge. They were more severely damaged sections that DOT came in and repaired like right away. You probably see the riprap out there, basically those big boulder stones. But whatever they thought at that time through an inspection that could wait for these emergency funds, they held up. So now we're going in and we're filling in those gaps, and we're going to be matching basically what's out there existing, which is that rubble riprap stone. So there's going to be there were sections that the DOT repair with stone that where the guardrail is substandard. So what Jessica was talking about, the guardrail installation, we're also taking out guardrail that's substandard and replacing it with new guardrail for drop-off protection into the canal. If you could go to the next section. So this gives you, this is just a picture of what it's going to look like. That's what's already out there, the U.S. Sugar Railroad Bridge. So basically, if you drive the project, you're going to see that there's portions of it, but it's not continuous. Now we're going to go in and basically fill in the gaps where there were damages that could wait until now that they're being repaired. The next typical section, which is the typical number 2, and I see Regina, I know you met with us before, so you know a lot about the project. The next slide, please. So the next slide is very similar. 10 years ago, you guys had a project that came through that did also embankment repairs and did milling and resurfacing. And there's what we call articulated concrete block mats, which is different than the robo riprap. It's basically filter mats that get pumped with concrete, and they protect the slope. They stay in place and protect the slope from erosion. So from south of the U.S. Sugar Railroad Bridge all the way to Houghton Highway, the repairs are going to be basically they're going to take place with this material. Why? Because it's being shown to withstand it's being proven to work. The damage, we did an inspection of the sections that were put 10 years ago, and they held very well through that event, the Irma event. And then we're basically matching again the existing condition as there as much as possible with that embankment material. And then if you go to the next slide, that's what it looks like. And that's what is gonna, basically there's gaps that are gonna be filled. And what this is gonna do is basically it's gonna prevent, it's gonna harden, as we call the slope, so that if there's any future releases or a hurricane or anything like that, and the water level increases drastically on the canal, and there's additional flows, there's additional roadway failure. There were portions of the road that almost washed out into the canal. So that's the gist of the repairs. So I'll let Fernando, actually Isel, go over the traffic control now.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be back in the city of Pahokee. I met you about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I was part of the SR-15 project right here from Shirley, going to, what do you call it, Dead Man Curve? I think somewhere like that. So we're very happy. The core team returned. Therefore, I'm very in tune with the community. I have a lot of contacts here that I developed. I just met with Dr. Hibbler at Canal Point. We're adding a few items for MOT, so he feels safe with a few more items. I met with Benicia Jones. We also have one of our main core teams. It's a local resident, border race, Jennifer Nava, which she provides a lot of information for us. And sometimes even before I get a complaint, Jennifer gets to the office and tells me, hey, look, this is happening, traffic, this and that. So I'm very fortunate to be back here. I'm very happy. This project, we're implementing 2 full detours. So starting June 1st, we implemented the detour from Canal Point all the way to Mug City Road, okay? And that will be June 1st to September 30th. After that, then we'll go into phase 2, which will be the following year, from Mug City Road, from Mug City to Houghton Highway. And we have all this in our presentation. We also, Meredith is going to talk about later, briefly, we have our open house virtual tomorrow, where people can log in and ask any further questions if you have. But I know that MOT enclosures is a main concern for the city, for the residents. So my contact is there. It's going to be on the public, on the flyer that we send out. I'm available 24/7. All the complaints come to me. So anybody, just Regina, anyone, that you always can refer them to me, and Meredith as well. So we'll try to minimize the impact. But right now, those are the proposed detours for locals. So if anybody has any questions, like I said, you always can reach out via email to us or phone calls or text. It doesn't matter. I'm here to help and to try to serve. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Would you mind going to the next slide, please? So as Isel mentioned, work is going to be done in phases. And it's going to be segmented. We're going to do some of the work on this during this season, and some of the work is going to be accomplished next year, because we have to respect the harvesting season, where the All Corners is the busiest. So we're talking about phase 3, which is the removal of the span wires and the installation of mast arms at these 2 intersections that you see in the screen. That's an improvement that I believe is very good for this segment. And also, I would like to mention that there is a concern about the condition of the pavement, and it has been mentioned to us. And FDOT is taking steps to address that on a future project, because this is federally funded. This is only for the repairs of the canal bank, and it's currently under design, the resurfacing of this segment of the project. And it's gonna take a little bit. It's being designed now, and it's expecting to be let on 2023. But it will take care of all the pavement deficiencies, and it will take care of the the stress on the pavement that it is a great concern. Next slide. And just mentioning, we're gonna have signage. We're gonna keep coordination with all the locals, with all partners of the city, to make sure that communication is paramount, to make sure that all the people respect the detours and the lane shifts, and most important, that these work areas are safe. Thank you.
Mayor, I have something else. I want to add something real quick that I forgot to touch. It's very important. Regina, you might remember this on our SR-15 project. We received numerous complaints about truck traffic through SR-715 to the neighborhood. I'm pretty sure you remember that. It was constant. It was an approved detour, and rightfully so. The garbage trucks from Miami were going through, and this detour that we're proposing, there shouldn't be no traffic going through there. What is coming, people that are coming from 441 and Canal Point, they're going to go to 729 and go to SR-15. So we're not going to run into that issue that we ran into the last project. It shouldn't. And if it comes to that point, then we'll add more signage and work with the police department as well to educate the public, okay? Thank you.
Good evening. Just wanted to quickly introduce myself. I'm Meredith Cruz. I'm a consultant to DOT for all of our active construction projects in Palm Beach County. So if you're familiar with the State Road 15 project, we had a project-specific blast list, which we used to push out notifications. For instance, when we were moving into different phases of the project, or any pertinent information like that. So we'll be doing that again, utilizing that same blast list. We've added on to it a bit. So if there's anyone that you know of, or neighbors, or anyone from the community that would like to be added to that, just let me know. Also, every Friday, I send a traffic report for all of Palm Beach County. It will be separate from that project-specific blast list. So if you'd like to be added to that, please let me know. And then we have the DOT website for construction that now actually is advertising our design projects. It's d4fdot.com. So we'll have a project-specific webpage for this job. Basically, it has a scope of work, and then we add progress photos as we progress along. So if you just would please switch to the last slide, and we'll have the detours up for the phase 1 and phase 2. And so I guess at this point we'll open up to any questions. Thanks for having us, by the way.
I do have a question. The virtual meeting, what time will it begin?
Thanks for bringing that up. So that is at 5 and 6.
Okay.
I have flyers here. This was sent out electronically, but I'm going to leave these behind as well. So basically, the same team will be on tomorrow, and we'll do a very similar presentation. It's pretty much this.
Okay.
And and then we'll take questions. We'll do an unguided PowerPoint slideshow in between, and then we just repeat the process at 6. And that'll all be recorded as well, so if someone can't make it, we're going to have this PowerPoint, the virtual meeting, all that'll be on the webpage for anyone that can't make it.
Thank you.
Do any commission have any questions they would like to ask?
Can we get a copy of the presentation? Is that what you have?
Okay, so phase 1, you can't, like from Canal Point to Mug City Road is gonna be closed, right?
Yes.
And phase 2 is gonna be from Mug City Road to 700.
Down in front of the mill.
Mug City Road, that's how.
The Florida Crystals
To the Florida Crystal Bridge there.
Bridge, the Florida Crystals.
Where they turn into
Okay,
the mill.
okay.
Emergency vehicles will have access. They have to have access throughout the life of the contract. We already communicated with the fire department and police department. And if any residents, we don't have many, fall within those limits, we have to maintain access for those residents. Everybody else that lives or resides inside those limits, they unfortunately have to take the detour. So in phase one, we have like 5 driveways. I think they belong to U.S. Sugar. We've got a good understanding with Mr. Reddish, which is the manager. We have to provide access for those people so they can continue to do the work. But everybody else, unfortunately, have to detour around.
So either phase, either 1 or 2, there should not be any traffic coming from Canal Point. Because even in phase 2, it's gonna close up to Hatton Highway.
Yeah, but if you come in Canal Point on phase 2, let's say we open phase 1, and then you're gonna continue to travel SR 700, Canal Point to SR 700, and you'll be able to get to Mock City and make a right door into town. You can't go past Mock City. Phase 2.
Oh, okay.
That's the
Yeah,
one-
it's only like,
Yeah,
but no access to 98 through there.
correct.
Okay.
Okay. On behalf of the Pahokee City Commission and our residents, we thank FDOT for that presentation. Thank you. At this time, I will adjourn our workshop, and we will reconvene in 60 seconds. Give you a stretch. For our regular meeting. City of Pahokee regular scheduled meeting to order for Tuesday, May 25th at 6:42 p.m. May we please stand for the invocation provided by Reverend Margaret Smart, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the presentation that has been given to us by people that are going to repair the roads that need to be repaired. Now, Lord, as we start the city business, may the agenda be followed, may we understand what's going on, and we give you thanks for those that have worked to make sure that this is a meeting that is agreeable and nice, calm, and blessings to all. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Present.
Vice Mayor Boland,
Present.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Present.
Commissioner Mervin,
Present.
Commissioner Perez,
Present.
Interim City Manager, present. City Attorney, and Acting City Clerk, present.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, staff. Thank each of you for being here tonight to participate in our regular scheduled meeting of Tuesday, May the 25th, 2021. And we also thank our listening public for tuning in via social media. We, as most are aware, for a couple months now haven't had a live meeting. This is our first live meeting now in about a year. We welcome you back. We're glad to see our residents face to face. We do have some minor restriction. Our capacity at this time is half capacity. We're asking if you're not a family member or don't stay in the same household, if you could at least have a seat between you as you sit. We also encourage mask wearing, although it's not mandatory. COVID, unfortunately, is still out there, although it's getting better. A lot of our residents have received their shots. As Mayor, I encourage you, if you haven't received a shot, if you desire, please do so. Madam Clerk, our clerk is actually doing role as clerk and also as the interim city manager. So she has a handful. We appreciate all of her effort. Madam Clerk, at this time, do we have any additions, deletions of agenda items?
No, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Clerk, at this time, do we have any comments cards from citizens completed?
Yes. Bobby Colvin.
Bobby Colvin, 3096 Bacon Point Road. And first of all, let me say how happy I am to finally be back in chambers again. It's wonderful. I'm going to go easy on everybody tonight. I don't have a whole lot, but there has been something for the past year that has bothered me more than just about anything. And it's been the flow of information or one-sided information. We watch YouTube a lot. Lot of people are on all kind of social things like Facebook and different ones. And it seems if you don't have the right political persuasion, if you don't agree with the mainstream media, programs are put on and instantly they're taking off and saying this does not fact check, or this is false information, or whatever. And it's been real discouraging to me that many times there are two sides to various questions, but only one side gets heard. And I hope we'll be a city that hears information from all sides. One thing that comes to mind particularly is in the health profession. The CDC and things of this nature, there are thousands of qualified doctors that totally disagree with some of the information that's put out by the CDC. But they are not allowed to share their information on YouTube and some of these places. And you would think that CDC just has wonderful guidelines, but I just want to inform people, and I'm not a doctor, so I won't play one, but those that are questioning whether to get a vaccine or not to get a vaccine, I encourage you to go to the internet to listen to some of the stuff that's going on that does not hit the mainstream media, and it'll scare the socks off of you. I've got members of my family that have taken the vaccine, and I pray for them that they'll be okay. For me, I don't want it. And I encourage you, one doctor particularly, Dr. Sherry Tenpenny, she has some wonderful information that I believe that everyone ought to hear before they get the vaccine. Thank you for your time.
Jonathan Johnson, Pahokee Elite Track.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Johnson, 2679 Bacon Point Road. I'm here today to ask for the Commission's help and support on trying to form an interlocal agreement or to be added on to the interlocal agreement with Pahokee has, the city of Pahokee has with the high school in order for our kids to use the Pahokee High School's track. We've been told that we couldn't use the track last week due to an incident that didn't have anything to do with me or our track team. And it's been a lot of legal stuff that's been thrown at us since then by trying to get back on the track. And the only way I think we'll be able to get it resolved is I get some help and support from the Commission of Pahokee. They're all our kids, and I've tried to do it on my own, trying to get use of the facilities, but it's not going to work, me just doing it on my own. So now I'm asking the Commission, the city of Pahokee, to ask for a partnership so that between Pahokee Elite Track Club and the city of Pahokee to gain access to the track for our kids.
Did you meet with Ms. Adams?
Yes, we met yesterday briefly.
What was that, the status?
We talked, and she said she had to review some things and she was going to get back with me. But she's been busy, she's wearing a lot of hats, and she haven't been able to get back with me. So just knowing the time frame that I'm working with and just trying to keep my kids acclimated to what we were doing all of season, I felt deemed that I need to come and present it before you guys just to get additional help and not lay the whole burden on Mr. Adams.
If I may ask, do we have to vote on that?
I don't, not at this time. I think what we'll do is, again, have Mr. Johnson work with Ms. Adams. She's the interim city manager and run the day-to-day. I think he may have spoken to some of the commission. I think the majority, and I'm just guessing, is in favor of it. I think Ms. Adams kind of understand what's the risk and what need to be done as far as moving it forward. But I believe this commission, at least the majority have its blessing to do that. If for some reason Mr. Johnson feels that decision may be unfair to his program or himself, he can always come back and we certainly can entertain it then, but this wouldn't require a vote, it just.
If I may ask, Jonathan, how long have you been waiting for this?
Actually, it's only been a week.
Only
Well,
been a
we've
week.
not been on track in 2 weeks.
Well, I haven't been on track 2 weeks.
Yes, so it's only really been, well, it's been 2 weeks, but we've only, me and Ms. Adams only been speaking since last Thursday, when she has time. Like I say, she's very busy, and it's hard to track her down, so, you know.
And she,
If I
she's here,
may.
she can give a time frame when she can really finalize this decision. Ms. Adam, if you would like to just comment.
I'm gonna let Jonathan finish first.
Okay.
In our meeting, I did present everything that she asked me for, and that would help, you know, I guess, speed up the process with insurance and letter of asking, you know, permission to partner and schedules and coaches and all of those things. So I've been trying to be, you know, as punctual as possible with everything that she's asked. So we're here now.
Okay, if I may. I did speak with Jonathan yesterday. We met yesterday for a little while so that, because I only became aware of what was needed. Today is Tuesday. That was Friday that I was told about needing the ILA at the last minute. And I told Jonathan I would meet with him because when he speaks of the 2 weeks, I didn't know anything before 2 weeks ago. So when Jonathan and I met yesterday, I told him that I had to take into consideration the liability that the city would have to take on. And the plan was to have gotten back to him this morning. I am still trying to understand the ILA. We've spoken with the school district so that we can get clarity. I have not told Mr. Johnson no. I have not said yes. I just need to make sure that the liability, if we decide to do this, what the liability is. He has provided everything. I still need the 501. What came through was only a partial copy.
I emailed it to you twice.
Okay, because I had the hard copy, but I only could see half of the screen, so it could have been too large. But I need to make sure that we as a city are not taking on the liability because if anything occurs, life does happen. And I understand that they are under a time crunch. So by tomorrow, you will have an answer, whether it's yes or no. I understand you're on the time crunch and you provided everything.
I have a question. As far as liability, it's my understanding that they do have liability insurance, and if they add the city as an additional insured, that should cover the city. And I believe that's the way it is with the interlocal agreement. So, like.
But also with the interlocal agreement, it just doesn't, it doesn't have to just be approved by the city. When I spoke with the school district, when we spoke with the school district, it also, there are certain conditions that have to follow with the school district. So that is the part that I'm trying to clarify and make sure that we understand before we move forward. Because it's not something that can happen overnight.
Sorry. Is it one interlocal with the city and
And the
then
school.
one with the school district,
No,
or it's just one?
it would be, if it is possible to do it that way, what they're trying to do is be a right up under the city.
Mhm.
So it would be a,
So it would be as if the city used the track and they're in under us? Okay.
but the school district does require that there's certain approvals on their end.
And excuse me, but the lady out there, she said you have some kind of I think I heard the word Olympics?
The dates.
We have the Junior Olympics and the Nationals coming up very soon. And we can't do it without our kids being able to be on the track. This is my son's first year, he's 5. So if he's not utilizing the track, he doesn't know how to properly run in his lane.
Do you have the dates?
So Johnny, what did the
What's
school
the date
district
for
say?
that? Do we know?
When I spoke in the meeting with Mr. Denard, it was Thursday, he was in support of everything. He said, whatever the city decides, he'll support it 100%. And basically, he left it in the hands of our community.
So it goes to him and not the district, so Mr.
Goes to the
Denard
He
is the
has
one.
to sign, yes, Mr. Denard has to sign off.
So
I
that's what you have to
spoke,
talk.
we got it from the district, Ms. Joyce at the district. So I'll clarify it tomorrow, and we'll get back
What's the
with you.
dates of the Olympics?
Well, actually, the Olympics is down the road, but we're in what you call right now the championship part of the season. We just finished this weekend. Actually, we was in Bradenton at the middle school state championship. This weekend we'll be in Lawrenceville, Georgia, at like one of the biggest track meets in the nation. It's called the Mark Trail Invitational. Once we get back from that, we will get into our district and our regionals, which if each kid has to qualify for. We'll get into that part of the schedule, and we also have a big track meet. It'll be down in Miramar at Anderson Sports Complex, Speed Capital, and then after that we'll be starting to
So
make
pretty
our
much you got
plans.
like a 3-week.
Yes, I gave Miss Johnson a copy of the
I
schedule.
have the schedule,
I
correct.
would have had it for you guys today, but this was like short notice. My parents really wanted me to come tonight because we was in practice, and I ended practice just to come and speak with you guys because it was like of the utmost importance for our kids. So,
And basically, the agreement would be to allow them to use Pahokee High School track field so that other track activities wouldn't really kind of bind Pahokee in any way. So,
Right,
we
that's what I'm saying, as long as
understand.
if the city say yes, I'm just saying, who else you need to go to the district? Is it just Mr. Denard, or is it the other?
Goes to Denard, and Denard sends it to the
And then
district.
they have
but
to
it
be the
has
one to
be
say,
approved
somebody else
by
has to say yes.
the district.
Besides us and Mr. Denard, I'm saying.
I couldn't answer that
Because
question.
if we
I'm
just say yes and he say yes, that'll be settled.
I'm pretty sure that we will be on the track.
Mr.
But she's
Johnson,
saying you have to go to
the
the
guy
district.
from the district, what's his name that was present at the meeting? Because he was present at the meeting and everything was agreed.
Right. Was it right?
All he basically needed was, okay from the city that they could use the interlocal agreement, send a letter from the city telling Mr. Denard, and Mr. Denard will forward it to the district, which the gentleman was present, and everything will be okay. He said, as soon as I receive that, you could go back to practice.
I think his name was Mr. West.
I will speak with Mr. West in the morning. If you,
Our neighboring community does the same thing for their youth in their city of Belgrade.
Yeah.
Yes, 'cause actually we tried. We practiced with this is what I feel like I just gotta say this. We practiced well, Mr. Butts has a track program in Belgrade, and he called in concerns when he heard that we weren't able to use the track. So he called us and said that their track was open to us and we can come out and practice with him. We went out and practiced with him one day, and the next morning he called me and said, man, I'm sorry, but somebody done called and said, you guys been over here practicing, and I can't let y'all do it anymore because someone called, or whoever his boss was, saying that we was there, and it was that turned into something else. But I just thought that we should know that, being citizens of Pahokee.
Miss Adams, just a quick question, and this is not a substitute for the track field itself, but I know they sometimes used to go up on the dike and practice as some conditioning. When would that be open, and if they're on the far end, would that, to your knowledge, pose any health problem or concern? I just want to give them that option while this agreement can be expedited, if possible.
I am, in my report, I am looking to open up the marina next week, hopefully. And so I think they're doing some construction because they were up there this morning doing some construction with the dike. But I will, I don't see a problem with, I know when I spoke with Jonathan, he said that they do use the hill. He does a lot on the hill leading up to the marina, so. I will contact Mr. West in the morning, if you can give me a contact number for him. And if you come to the office in the morning at 10, we can call Mr. West on the phone, all three of us.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. We'll get it.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Citizens.
Any additional comments, cards?
No, sir, that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we would move to our next agenda item. There is no minutes to be approved, no consent agenda items, no ordinances. We do have one resolution, Resolution 2021-09. City Attorney.
Testing. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Pahokee, Florida, approving the state-funded grant supplemental agreement number 3 between the City of Pahokee, Florida and the Florida Department of Transportation, attached hereto is Exhibit A, authorizing the mayor to execute the same, providing for adoption of representations, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam City Attorney. City Manager, could you give us a brief explanation of the Resolution 2021-09?
Yes, Mayor and Commission. This resolution is for an extension for Phase 4 FDOT. This is for resurfacing of our roads, and it is for West 7th Street, West 3rd Street to South Lake, West 2nd Street, and MLK. And so that will just be a total resurfacing project, as well as maybe putting in striping and a crossbar. And that will be for those 4 streets, and it's much needed. You previously approved the FDOT grant for the resurfacing for Phase 4. This is asking for the changes in those streets, as well as an extension to allow us, to give us time until December the 31st. But the bid is scheduled to go out as soon as you approve this. We should have the bid out in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you. Commissioners, we have had Resolution 2021-09 properly read into the minutes by our City Attorney and properly explained by our City Manager. At this time, I would entertain a motion for its adoption if that's the desire of the Commission.
I have questions. Can I ask?
We need
A motion first.
We need to have a motion and a second, then we'll call for questions.
Motion to accept Resolution 2021-09 for discussion.
A second.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Bolden and properly second by Commissioner Perez for the movement of Resolution 2021-09. Call for question, Commissioner Perez.
Okay, so this grant that you have, this was from 2019,
Yes, ma'am.
and now it expires in December 31st, or when does it expire?
That would be, yes, that's what the extension is for, to allow us time until the 31st to get the project done. But as I stated,
This is asking for an extension,
extension,
so that it could be properly bidded out.
yes, ma'am. And it'll give us time to bid it out as well as get the project completed.
Okay, this is Phase 4,
This is Phase 4, yes, ma'am.
so we had a Phase 1, 2, and 3?
Yes, ma'am.
And everything was to be done within the same time?
Expand upon that question.
The same amount of time? From,
Usually they're about the same amount of time. It's $210,000, and that's for resurfacing for those roads.
I mean, does each phase have a different time limit?
It depends on, usually they're the same amount of time, but it depends on if, with this project, COVID happened, different circumstances, so we had to push it back. But usually it's only a couple of streets and it's just resurfacing, so the project usually does not take that long.
Commissioner Perez, if I may, the 4 phases was in different time frames. For instance, phase 1 was in 2016. So you had approximately this, when she mentioned the same time frame, she may be referring to like they give you 9
3
or 12
months, 6
months
months.
to complete it.
And it depends on how many roads are in there. This one only has 4 roads, and the depth and the length of the road. And it's just resurfacing. So it's not a really time-consuming project or a hard project.
Yeah, it was just my question was, because I know it said reconstruction, resurfacing. I didn't know what when we submitted it to DOT, was it for reconstruction, was it
No.
resurfacing, what?
For these projects, there are EDTF dollars, and they're usually just titled reconstruction, resurfacing. It doesn't mean that it is reconstruction. It's just resurfacing.
Okay. So, these figures that are here, how does that work? Like, I mean, did you have an engineer that already, that went out and measured
Yes,
and knew the amount of money and all that?
Yes, ma'am. All that has to be submitted before we're even approved from FDOT to receive that. Those measurements, we have a list of roads, as I stated during our one-on-one, we have a list of roads which are prioritized. The measurements are already done. They're done by engineers, so it's not something that a CED pulls out the top of their head. I have A&E Engineering who can expand on is further doing their portion of the presentations, but the measurements for the roads are put on the applications when we submit to FDOT.
So that's been paid already?
No, ma'am, it has not been paid. We have not received anything, we haven't done anything, so I'm asking the commission to approve this extension. Once this extension is approved, then I put the bids out and we're reimbursed with the bids. I mean, with the contract, we're reimbursed, ma'am.
The engineer, cost has
For
not been paid yet?
No, ma'am, it's part of the 210 that we get for the resurfacing.
And how much is that for this
It
project?
will depend, I don't have it in front of me, but once we submit the bid, and the bids come back, then we'll know what the cost is for the total bid. So
That
what you're,
doesn't make sense to me.
what you're looking at, when we say the price of the total measurements of the road, the estimated cost per length. And if you see here, it says West 7th Street, estimated cost is $7,900. So whatever that totals up to, our contractor, a potential contractor may come back and say, okay, our cost is $200,000 to resurface and striping and a stop bar. So my engineer goes out, CEI oversees the project and confirms that everything has been done. They submit in, I cannot go over $210,000 for the cost. So I submit that to FDOT.
Okay, well, I'm trying to understand the bidding process, okay? We have an in-house engineer. The engineer goes, he measures, estimates, writes up the scope. I mean, there has to be a fee ahead of time that he'll tell you this is my fee. I looked at the contract, there's not a percentage, we're paying the engineer's fee based on the payout or the voucher, whatever he turns in. My thing is, like, you have $210,000 and you put in out a bid. Are you letting the bidders know that that's what you have, $210,000?
Yes, ma'am.
So they have to divide that $210,000 into these figures,
Well,
right? Because
when-
they have to give you the bid for each.
When those engineers put in their bids, they know what their costs are. They have to calculate up their costs. So how they calculate it up may not just be based on 4 rows divided up into $210.
Well,
$210,000.
I don't think the engineers are the ones that are gonna do the work. I think the ones that are gonna do the work is people that do the asphalt.
The contractors.
Right, the contractors. So, like, when we do bids, they give me the scope of work. And usually you just, you bid what you're gonna charge to do the work, and you give one price. If everybody bids the same, if it's me and 3 of us and we bid 210,000 and we're all qualified, how do you choose the contractor to do the work? We all know it's $210,000. So how does that work?
Well, okay, so first, before I even put it out to bid, I have to have you all to approve whether we can put this out to bid. I have to get the extension to put it out to bid. Second, once we put it out to bid, and I have 3 bids to come back, and they're all the lowest bidder at $210,000, then we base those qualifications on other things that they provide. Whether they're the most qualified, when we do reference check, we may have someone come back and they're actually they're not qualified to bid. They may not fit all the credentials, so that knocks them out.
So, okay, so if they bid 210, where are you gonna get the money to pay the contractor, and how are you gonna figure out, the engineer, how are you gonna pay how much the engineer gets paid?
Commissioner Perez, those questions there, you know, for all honesty, don't have anything to do with this particular resolution of an extension. We need to move that. Some of these questions you can go one-on-one with your city manager and just get more clarification. But the question you're asking, the question we should be asking is question that would give us an understanding of whether or not we have enough information to warrant requesting an extension. Outside of that.
Okay, we get an extension and what? After we get the extension, they're still gonna have the same questions.
That means you can go and meet with your city manager.
I tried to ask these questions, and that was the answer that I got. I didn't get the answer that I need. It's basically clear. If you have 210,000 to do a project, you bid it out for 210. It does not include the engineering fee. How do you pay the engineer, and how does the money come out? I mean, it's a simple question. How does it work?
But I'm saying
it's very simple.
Okay, but you're holding up a request of a resolution to ask questions that can be asked at a later date. This wouldn't stop you from making a nay or yay vote. The question you need to be asking is, I got a concern, I cannot make this decision for this extension till I get a clarification on this particular question.
When it comes out I'll ask it later.
Okay.
All right.
In addition, question from the commission.
I have one.
Vice Mayor Bull.
When you add up these costs over here, it totals up $94,430.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that leaves $115,570 out of the 210, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so is the $115,570, is that the money that you're paying the engineer and all of that with?
Our CEI engineer, yes. So when they submit back their bid, their costs may include, their costs are gonna include equipment, overhead, those things. So we do not exceed the 210,000. So when their bid comes back, we're looking at the lowest bidder. So if that cost includes 94,000 plus 10 extra dollars, then that is our lowest bid.
Okay, and we took off West Fifth Terrace, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then West Third now is gonna go over to South Lake instead of just to Carissa?
It's going to South Lake all the way
Okay.
over.
And West Second, what part of West Second?
West. So West Second towards, on the other side, other side of South Lake.
Other side of South Lake. Okay. The second is the one that runs in front of the Parker Building? Or is that Third?
That is.
That's Third,
Third.
right? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, all right, I'm good. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Boland,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Mervin,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez.
This is for extension, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And that's
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Commissioners. Motion passed by unanimous vote. We don't have any public hearings, no proclamations. We do have 2 presentations. First presentation is the HCT Independent Auditors.
Mayor, Commission, we will have Mr. Harvey to present from our independent auditors with HCT, and I have our finance director here. Mr. Harvey, if you would like to go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Roderick Harvey, partner with HCT. HCT is the audit firm of record for the city of Pahokee. I also have with me my team members. At this time, I'm going to have Mr. Kimar Scott start off our audit presentation. We also have on the screen what we will be going over on our papers. So again, Mr. Scott.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kimar Scott, the senior auditor on the job. I will start on the introduction page. We are pleased to have the opportunity to meet with you on May 25th, 2021 to discuss the result of our audit of the financial statement of the city of Pahokee as of and for the year ended September 30, 2019. Our audit was conducted in accordance with the terms established in the audit engagement letter dated March 12, 2020. Our audit is complete, and we issue the following opinions on the financial statement of the city of Pahokee on August 21st, 2020. An unmodified opinion for the governmental activities, general, Henderson endowment, debt service, and capital project funds. Qualified opinion for business type activities and marina and campground and cemetery funds. We move to page 2. Audit results require communication and other matters summary. Supplementary slide support required communication and other matters and responsibilities. I will now turn over the following of the presentation to Mr. Thomas, our manager. Thanks.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. My name is Thomas Williams. First we have here is the audit of our, or the scope of our audit, excuse me. We did our audit in accordance with auditing standards generally accepted in the United States of America and standards applicable to financial audits contained in the general government standards issued by the Comptroller of the United States. We issued a CFA schedule as well, so we had to follow the standards of Title II U.S. Code of Federal Regulations, Part 21, Uniform Administrative Requirements, Cost Principles, and Audit Requirements of the Federal Awards, as well as Chapter 10550, Rules of the Auditor General of the State of Florida. During the course of our audit, there were no changes to our initial audit plan risk and planned audit strategy. We issued the following reports: an independent auditor's report, an independent auditor's report on internal controls over financial reporting, an independent auditor's report over compliance of each major program, and that's again talking about the CFA and grant dollars. We had a schedule of findings and questions costs, which we will discuss later on. We issued an independent auditor's report on compliance with requirements of Section 218.415 of Florida statutes, and that's basically talking about the investment policy and investment schedules. And lastly, we issued a management letter in accordance with rules of the Auditor General of the State of Florida. There are no outstanding matters here to report for FY 2019. And in note 1 of the financial statements, you will see the significant accounting policies. Next slide, please. We identified the following as significant audit estimates. That would be the allowance for doubtful accounts, accumulated depreciation of your capital assets, and fair market value of your investments. The following are audit risks that, as we're planning, these are sent out by our guidance to take a look out for. Management override of controls, that is, you as the elected officials provide the policies and procedures that management is supposed to follow, so we need to discover, did management overstep their bounds and go through those controls that you set forth, as well as revenue recognition Did you receive the money? Did you record it in the proper period? The following two are new accounting pronouncements, GASB 83 and 88. There were no financial impacts to the city, so we didn't have to do anything with those. Next slide, please. We did not have any uncorrected misstatements, as well as everything that we did find that needed a correction during the audit. All those corrections were made, and there were no financial presentation disclosures that were omitted. Next slide, please. We will note, starting on page 14, we will give a definition of what a deficiency is, and then later on go into the deficiencies and some of the things that we found during the scope of our audit. We did not detect or have any related party issues. And this last bullet point just states that if the city is to use our financial statements for any kind of public funding, we have a right to review that and make sure that the information is correct. But that is the extent of what we're supposed to do. We are only supposed to make sure that the information that is our statements are being used for are correct. Next slide, please. The only thing of note here that I'd like to point out is we did have a subsequent events note. That's the very last note of the audit report. And that's just kind of explaining that during the year COVID-19, or subsequent to the year end, COVID-19 happened, and that there would be some uncertainties with some of the numbers and what's going on, and just talking about the impact that it would have on the city. Next slide, please. And on this last note, we're just stating for record that we believe that we are independent of the city in all material accounts as defined by our public standards. Next slide, please. And with that, we're going to turn it over to the partner, Mr. Roger Carvey.
Again, good day, Mayor, Commission, City Manager, City Attorney, City Clerk, Finance Director. I want to emphasize that this audit we're reporting on is as of September 30, 2019. All right, so we're rolling back a while. Next slide, please. We're going to spend a few minutes talking about financial reporting, revenues, expenses, capital assets, receivables, and long-term debt. Next slide, please. Our approach, or what we look at, is number one, reporting on the financial statements, inspecting the financial statements to determine are they in accordance to GAAP. Now I want to delve into the revenue area. Revenues for the city totaled $6.5 million for the period ended, again, September 30, 2019, as compared to the same period of 2018, $6.9 million. The decrease was primarily a result of grant operations, and contributions were reduced by $1.1 million. We selected a sample of significant transactions such as revenue streams and tested for existence, accuracy, and the presentation of those revenues. Expenses or expenditures for 2019 total $5.7 million as compared to the 2018 period, 6.5. For that testing, we looked at a sample of significant transactions and tested for completeness, accuracy, and the presentation of those expenses. Next slide, please. Capital assets, the final balance for September 30, again 2019, 13.9 as compared to 12.3 for 2018. The decrease is a result of depreciation. With the receivable balance, $400,000 for 2019, and that balance remained flat as you compare it to 2018. Long-term debt, the balance was $900,000 at 2019 as compared to $300,000 for 2018. The increase was due to a loan facility for purchase and installation of artificial turf at the Everglades Preparatory football field. We did confirm debt by third parties. Next slide. Our responsibility is to issue our opinion on the financial statements. Our responsibility also includes consideration of the internal control environment We do not issue an opinion on the control environment, but we do test for weakness in the control environment. And we'll talk a little bit about that now. Next slide. So when you look at deficiencies, there are several types that are listed here, which is an overall deficiency. You can have a significant deficiency in the highest level of a deficiency as a material weakness. We will now talk about the findings for the 2019 audit. We are required by GAS to report on not only our findings, but the status of other findings from other auditors. And so I would note to you the year, next slide please, of the finding as we roll through the findings. And I'll try to do this relatively quickly because I imagine you guys have heard these for a while. The first finding, which goes back to 2010, deals with the physical count of inventory. We noted that that finding was not cleared. Finding 2, next slide please, comes from 2014. We noted a lack of oversight. Let me make a commercial break. These findings are not our findings. They are from the auditor of the city at that time. We are required to report on it. So when I say our finding, I'm using it generically as the auditor. All right, 2014, there was noted a lack of oversight. We noted that that finding was partially implemented. Moving to the next finding, next slide, 1402. We noted that the report was filed late for 2019. That was not implemented as a 2018 audit was not filed on time. Next slide. Again, this management comment comes from 2014. Non-compliance and other matters that are required to be reported under GAS, government auditing standards. We noted that finding was not implemented. Next slide, please. 2014-5, non-compliance with other matters. This one deals with credit card activity. We noted that that finding was partially implemented and that the city did perform some procedures to improve the credit card expenditures during the time. Next slide, please. This finding goes to 2015. The city has not established adequate controls over revenues and unearned revenues for the marina. We noted that as partially implemented, controls over the marina revenues have improved with updated policies and procedures. Next slide, please. This finding is from the 2016 year. The city has not adequately trained staff. We noted that finding as partially implemented, controls have improved, and we will continue to look at that in the 2019-2020 audit. Next slide, please. This goes to 2016 also. The city has not complied with purchasing procedures. Again, we reviewed it. We noted it at that time as partially implemented. Next slide, please. 2017 is when this finding comes about. It relates to the Marina Campground Enterprise Fund and operating losses being reported in those two funds. We noted that for the 2019 audit that both funds were still operating with a loss, so it's not implemented. Next slide, please. Dealing with 2017, this finding, number 10, we noted that management had not provided adequate and timely information to the commission. We believe that finding to be implemented. Next slide, please. From 2017, again, this we noted the inadequate communication between personnel performing the accounting function and managing grants. We noted that finding as partially implemented. We did note some improvement. Next slide, please. Again, from 2017, we noted the city recorded infrastructure surtax revenues. We noted this again as partially implemented. The city created a capital projects fund to record infrastructure surtax activity. However, there are still some transactions recorded in the general fund. Next slide, please. This one is from 2018. We noted the city had not incorporated auditor's adjustments. Again, we noted some progress in this area, and so we moved this to partially implemented, which included the assistance of an outside consultant. The next two findings, which is why I wanted to hasten through, relates to findings that we noted during our audit of 2019. So I thought that these would be more relevant to spend the time on. This is finding number 1 from the audit that we performed for 2019. The city issued Pahokee Promissory Note 2018 in the amount of $605,000, which dealt with the purchase and installation of artificial turf at the football field. We noted that our recommendation, management should increase oversight to ensure that all transactions are recorded to reduce the risk of material misstatement. Management responded. Management understands the importance of oversight for the financial records to ensure that all required transactions are recorded properly and accurately accounted for in the appropriate long-term debt account group for the outstanding liability. The city continues to make improvements with the assistance of an outside consultant, and this will not be a continuous issue. The next finding, next slide please, is again a finding of ours which relates to non-compliance with a Florida DEO grant for the marina. A change order from a contractor was presented to the city on August 15th for additional tasks and items. The change order was not approved by the commission until September 24th of 2019, which was after the time it was obligated on August 31st. We recommend that management adopt a contingency plan to address situations where an ongoing project needs an emergency change order approval. The commission should either hold a separate meeting to approve changes or appoint someone with the powers to do so to ensure compliance with deadlines and not delay the project. Management responded to our finding. Construction revisions are standard occurrences with large developmental projects. Often the change order timeline does not align with the city's ability to have approvals complete to ensure that there is no interruption in the completion of work. The city implements timely action to ratify ongoing changes because the system of change orders is not a succulent process. There was a singular occurrence and has not been identified in previous audits. In addition, our closeout audit with the funding agency did not conclude the delayed change order as a barrier to good practices. And therefore, the city received its closeout approval successfully. The city will implement the recommendation to adopt a contingency plan to address situations to keep projects moving forward and to adhere to all compliance, regulation, and requirements. Just a note, parenthetical note, we noted this as a question cost, that amount, $125,093, $125,093. Next slide, please. All right. Management responsibility. Management is responsible for presenting the financial statements and making adjustments. Management is also responsible for the design and implementation of the control environment. Management is also responsible to provide the auditor all access to information, unrestricted access to persons that we request, and to identify and help ensure compliance with laws and regulation. The elected officials, their responsibility is oversight of the financial reporting process of the internal control environment and oversight and establishment and maintenance of management controls to prevent, deter, and detect fraud. Again, our objectives is to audit and to express an opinion in accordance with GAS. Let me move forward. And then the last slide, I guess I blew through a couple slides. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. There you go. And then finally, this slide gives more responsibilities of us as auditors, and I only highlight a few: to communicate significant matters, to communicate where we suspect or identify non-compliance with laws, communicate with management and the city commission in writing of all significant deficiencies, conduct our audit in accordance with professional standards. And so at this time, Mayor, I will, if you will allow, we will do our very, very best to answer any and all questions that you all may have.
One question, is it a practice of your firm when you note a finding to provide some recommendation to the city to correct whatever deficiency that may be there?
Yes, sir.
Especially those that partially met, how can the bar be moved to be totally met?
We normally do it in writing and verbally. We will have those discussions with the finance director and or management based on the city size. But yes, we do those. And then where most important, as we've done here, we note our findings in the audit report and verbally note the findings as we have done here to the elected and the appointed officials.
How long have you been conducting the financial audits for the city of Pahokee?
Say again, ma'am, I'm sorry.
How long have you been conducting?
Yes, ma'am. This, well, based on this audit, the 2019 audit was our second year of auditing the city.
And what was the period of the year?
We audited the 2018, which would be the period ended September 30, 2018. And then this audit is the period ended September 30, 2019. We are currently doing our procedures for the September 30, 2020 year, but we have not concluded, and so we are not here to report on 2020 yet.
Okay, so you did 18 and 19.
Yes.
Prior to that, you did not do the financial audit.
No, ma'am. We had no history. We were brought in at that time, so that begins our professional engagement with the city.
Okay, the financial audits, when you do it based on the financial reports that are provided to you from the city.
That's correct. That's correct.
So you do it based on the information that you're given.
That's correct.
And based on your report, that I see where the marina and campground, the cemetery, the general fund, what other one? There was like 4 different that you conducted based on the manager's report.
Repeat that. I want to make sure because I thought you were going to say something different.
Okay. I'm going to, this is the city financial statement. I believe it's on the conclusion of your finding in the first pages.
You're looking at the audit report, the actual document?
Yes, I
Yes, ma'am.
saw it somewhere. Okay, I know that your audit is conducted for the purpose of forming opinion on the financial statements that collectively comprise the city's basic financial statements. Okay, it also states the schedule of expenditures of federal awards and state financial assistance as responsibility of management and was derived from and relates directly to the underlying accounting and other records used to prepare the basic financial statement. Such information has been subjected to the auditing procedures applied in the audit of the basic financial statement and certain additional procedures. In our opinion, they have also issued management discussion and analysis. Okay, as the city manager of the city of Pahokee, I offer readers of our financial statement this narrative overview and analysis of our financial activities for the fiscal year ending September 30, 2019. I encourage the readers to consider the information presented here in conjunction with the city's financial statements beginning on page 13. So I'm trying to find it where basically you stated to see if you, okay, when you did the part, there's a statement there that you made as far as the Pahokee Marina and Campground, the cemetery, the general fund. Basically, you stated that you did that based on the report that was given to you from the city manager.
We would probably say management, but that's fine, from management. Yeah,
Okay.
management to manager.
So, and so therefore you said that, these audits are only conducted with the figures that they give you.
That's correct.
Correct.
That's-
You don't look at, it's not like an in-debt or anything. They give you the information, you audit it, you make sure that everything balances, and if it doesn't balance, I see where in the past years they did adjustments to the general ledger to balance it out.
Let me offer an answer, I think, to the spirit of your question, which if I don't answer it, please redirect me. We audit based on the organization, the city as a whole unit. That audit is based on risk areas. Based on an area and based on our materiality, we will then delve into those areas to a certain level. So let's take numbers. Let's say an area is 500,000. We may look at items at 50,000 or above. So we will test detailed transactions. We also, on the other side, as Mr. Thomas said, to gain an understanding and for our audit planning, we will also test the control environment. So we do detailed tests. Now, as a part of that, as a part of our assertions, we do look at presentation and disclosure. So how does the financial statements look? Do they balance? Yes. But we also do detailed tests of controls. So controls are, what are you doing, what should you be doing, and how big is that gap? So for example, should a check have 2 signatures? We'll look at, pick a number, 50 checks. Do they all have, in accordance with the policy, 2 signatures? That is test of controls. Then we will also do detailed testing where we'll test a sample, a random sample, and test those transactions back to the originating documents, which may include approvals, which may include copies of checks and or the movement of those monies to make sure that that transaction is complete based on our audit results. I hope that that is more in line with the spirit of your question.
Was any of that done on any other of the ones that I mentioned?
So yes, it was done citywide based on the fund level, how large is the fund compared to our risk. And so we looked at it. What I thought you may be saying is for those areas you mentioned, we qualified those reports, those areas, the marina and the cemetery fund, which means that we had an except for, there was something that we said we could not give a clean opinion except for X, Y, Z. But we did detailed tests based on the size. Now, if you say to me, hey, Harvey, the cemetery had a $50 charge, did you look at it? I can't answer that. I would probably tell you more likely than not, no. But we do look at the organization by fund level and as a whole.
Mr. Harvey, can I interrupt for 1 second?
Please.
City of Pahokee we do not create our own financial statements. The auditors do. They take my transactions and put them into financial statements. We take responsibility for the financial statements. That is why we have an outside consultant who is Susan, the CPA. I don't review the financial statements. She does for the auditors. Then they go in and they start making their opinion. So no, we do not give them a report to report on. We give them transactions to report on. They put it into a financial statement and then they report. So we do not create our annual financial statements. No, that's not how that works.
You don't
We
give
give
a profit and loss
transactions that we
and you know all the financial finances that go, in order to
We
be
give them,
audited?
we give them all the transactions that we make during the year in the accounting system. That's what we give them. They
That is
create
their
the
report.
financial statements. They create the financial statements. We take responsibility once they're reviewed by our CPA. So no, I do not give them financial statements to review. I'm just not giving them numbers, coming up with balanced numbers. No, that's not how that works. Because I'm thinking that's what your question is. Are we
Okay,
giving
so,
them
so
reports
your
to go by?
duty, so your sole duty is just to enter the transactions as you receive them?
My sole
Basically,
duty,
you
if you look at the
payables?
ordinance, if you look at the ordinance, the finance director's sole duty is to make sure all the city's transactions is recorded in the accounting system. That's what I'm supposed to do, to make sure all of our purchase orders is recorded, to make sure that, the money in the bank is reconciled monthly, to make sure that there is internal controls. Those are my duties. So no, I do not create financial statements. The finance director has never created financial statements, the annual financial statements in years since they've been audited. So I'm not sure what that question is.
And what does a consultant, what is the consultant's
Consultant, she's a CPA.
responsibility?
She comes in to make sure that every transaction that I enter into the system is the correct transaction. And once they put the financial statements together, she goes and review the statements to make sure that is correct. So it's 3 people looking at these numbers. It's not just me giving them a whole bunch of numbers and go ahead and review and make an opinion on. No.
No, you're the one that start with the numbers.
I start with the numbers. I
Yeah.
enter anything you guys do, anything you approve in the city,
Yeah,
I put into the system, correct.
right.
Any checks that's cut, I put
And
into
all
the
she
system,
does
correct.
is check you.
She makes sure that what we're doing is coded correctly after the financial statements are approved, or done by, the auditors. So we don't create annual financial reports, no.
And so how do you put your numbers in the computer? Is it like a journal entry?
Yes, correct. We do journal entries, we just, it's an
So
accounting
then that's
system.
not putting them as they come in.
No, that's not true. Okay, we create a purchase order. The time that we create a purchase order is entered into the system. So if you go ahead and approve a project for $150,000, that number is put into the accounting system. Right then and there. It's not later on. It's put in as soon as we create the purchase order. If we cut a check for that purchase order, that's going to be put into the accounting system. So everything is already.
It goes against that particular purchase order.
Correct. It depends on how the purchase order is, yes.
And everything is documented in the computer like that way.
As soon as you do something in the city, anytime money leaves the bank or leaves, it's documented in the system, correct.
So anytime that we go in there, we could get, your receivables, your payables,
You can
and
do
everything
whatever.
will be up to
It'll
date.
be up to date.
So
Correct.
you should be able to have a profit and loss, a trial balance, because all that is part
Whatever
of the
you want me
accounting.
to
bit.
print out can be printed, yes.
So that's your finances.
But there's an annual financial statement, is what he's speaking on. All
That's,
those
yeah,
numbers-
that's at the end, I understand
Yes,
that correctly.
so that's what he's doing. I don't give you guys a trial balance, I don't give you guys a profit and loss. What you guys get is budget to actuals every month to see where the budget is, because that should be your main focus, to make sure that we're staying on budget. So you're getting the budget to actuals, and you're also getting, bank reconciliations to make sure that how much money is in the bank. That's what you get on a monthly basis. But what Mr. Harvey is speaking on is our annual financial statements, and I think that's where you're getting confused.
No, I'm not confused, I know
Okay.
exactly what I'm asking.
Okay, no problem, just making sure.
Yeah, thank you
You're
for
welcome.
clarifying.
No problem.
I have one quick question. You said we have a consultant
We
named
do.
Susan?
CPA, yes, Susan. She comes in during audit time to make sure that we're ready for the
What-
audit, prepared for the audit.
What's the name of that company?
It's not a company, it's an independent person. Her name is Susan. She's a CPA. Her credentials have been checked. So she just does side work for everyone.
So we just know her name is Susan.
Her name is Susan, yes.
Thank
That's
you.
all that we know.
What else do you need to know?
I would like to know her first name, her last name, her firm name, where is she located at?
Okay, well, there is no firm, and then Susan is part of day-to-day operations. But if you want to meet Susan, I can have her come in and do a presentation as well.
She's a part of day-to-day
She's a part of
operations,
day-to-day,
but you just
so-
said she only comes once a year.
She comes in, she's still a part of day-to-day, she works for the
She's a
finance department as
consultant.
well. So she comes in, she helps out, she's not a person that would have to, how do I say it, she doesn't, what is the word I'm looking for? She doesn't report to the commission.
I think we're paying too many people to do the job that could be done by one person, and then
Nope.
if we're gonna have someone to prepare the financials, and that's the
what
way
you
it
feel, and
is.
that's what you feel,
Okay.
but we've never done our financial statements in the city of Pahokee.
I understand, that's why
Okay.
we're in the predicament that we're in, and that's why we've always had the same
It just
problem.
depends on what predicament you feel we're in. Correct.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Predicament
focus,
that
let's,
everyone
Can I ask a
understands.
yes,
question
let's
about this?
focus on the audit and we can,
Yes, sir. Okay, so under finding 2017-01, and I know you said that wasn't yours, but I have the campground enterprise fund, the Marina and Campground Enterprise Fund, and then the general fund was short.
One quick second. Yes, either what page or what finding number again?
I'm
You say
so
17?
sorry. Page 91, finding 2017-01.
Can you go back to that slide, please? 2701?
Page 91.
You lost her.
Hello, she's there. That's it, 2701. Yes, I'm sorry, I'm ready.
Yes, sir. Okay. It says that as of the September 30th, 2017, the advance from the general fund for $193,486 for the marina and campground. The enterprise fund is just the regular marina and campground fund?
Correct.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, just want to make sure. And then $338,865 for the cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
In 1 year, we advanced the cemetery 338.
I'm not sure what happened pre-Batista, but I do know we have been carrying the cemetery for years. The cemetery has always operated in the red, so I'm not sure. We carry
Okay.
the cemetery as well as the marina.
Okay. All right. I guess my question to you, sir, is
Yes,
I see at the end of each one of these findings, there's a recommendation. And I guess I'm kind of asking the same question the mayor did, but I see where some of it is partially, why is it not like just completely taken care of? What can we do to make it be completely taken care of? Because
Thank
it
you.
seems to me, once you start to fix it, you would fix the whole thing, and that's where I'm a little confused.
No, great question. Thank you for that question. Auditors, this goes beyond HCT, normally will judge the status of a finding in 3 areas. Not implemented, the city didn't do anything. Partially implemented, they began to implement, and then fully implemented. The kicker is that it should be, the judgment for implementation is based on September 30 of the next year. So when we look at a finding, in this case, let's use 2017, we will see, was that finding cleared by September 30, 18? It wasn't. We'll go and look, was it cleared by September 30, 19? If there's some movement, then we'll say partially. So the goal is, which is why we will, to the mayor's question, sit with finance or management and say, hey, listen, if you all can do these 2-3 things over the next year, then we can clear the finding. All right, so that's what goes into it. I would think the most important ones are the ones that's not implemented. That means very little, if any, has been done to clear that finding. And as an aside, just FYI, for the good of the order, for those watching on TV, findings are not cleared by the Auditor General until they are fully implemented. So that's why you see these findings rolling forward, going back from 2010, 2014. They are not taken off until they are judged as fully implemented.
Okay.
I hope that answers the
Yeah,
spirit of your
that
questions.
actually answered my next question, because I was going to ask, why does it take from 2014 to 2020, basically 6 years to fix that?
Yeah, if it's not clear, it just keeps rolling forward. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there something other than just y'all coming in and sitting down with the finance department that can be done to help move that process along?
Okay, that's another great question. So we actually do more than just talk. We will test the finding. So if you tell us, hey, we did all this great stuff, wonderful, now show me. We need to see the underlying data, the underlying work, whether it's presenting it to the commission, whether it's doing whatever work needs to be done with the state agency to show us through audit that it was done. That's what we're looking for to clear that finding. So it's more than a conversation. If it's not done, then that goes to what I said earlier. We will say, hey, look, we see you made some progress. If you can do these couple things in the next cycle, then we can fully implement the finding.
And have you done that with our city?
We have, when we came in to flashback, I believe, and Mrs. Francis can admonish me if I am incorrect publicly, I think the city was behind, and so the first cycle we was just trying to get up, and I think by this audit we were trying to get right on time. But in each case, we've talked about what could or should be done. One of the things that I know was done, and it's mentioned in some of the findings, was bringing on an independent consultant to help assist finance with moving the wheel forward.
And that was the Susan lady?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. And then just one other question, and you hit on it, but I don't think I caught it. There were 1, 2, 3 on page number 2, and I don't know what the heading is. It
You're on the
says
cap.
Summary of opinions.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, okay, so, business type activities, Marina and Campground Fund and the Cemetery Fund, they all say qualified, and then the others say unmodified, and I assume unmodified means they were okay and you didn't have any findings on them, and these 3 areas are the ones where you did have the findings?
It's more than a finding. So one of our responsibilities that we mention and continue to mention is our goal as auditors is to express an opinion, all right? And normally you want that opinion to be unmodified or in layman's term clean. That means whatever we viewed or audited was good. It met the standard. There is also the next check down would be a qualified. Think of it as a qualification. So it was good except for X, Y, Z. All right? Ultimately, the next check down would be an adverse opinion. Basically, nothing was right. And then another check down would be a disclaimer of opinion, which means we didn't see enough to make an opinion. All right? And so the funds that you have enumerated, we gave a qualification of those funds in our opinion, which is why it's broken out in the fashion that you see.
Okay, so the business type activities, would that be like the general fund?
No, that's not. That's actually it's the exact opposite of
Okay, that's why I was.
right. The business tax would be where you charge some kind of user charge or fee to the user, and so we would call those, or as mentioned earlier by one of you, your enterprise funds.
Okay.
Proprietary funds. That's the other word that you would hear
Okay.
with business type. Proprietary or enterprise funds.
And for clarification, the campground and the marina and the cemetery are all part of the enterprise funds, or business type funds. So you'll see the business type fund was modified, and the 2 funds underneath them were modified as well. You see the general fund is part of the governmental funds, and you see that's unmodified, and you see the governmental funds are unmodified as well.
Okay, and I guess just one final question. If I were to ask you what kind of shape we're in, what would be your opinion?
Based on the 2019 audit.
Yes, sir.
But at this time, I would say that the city is moving forward. We did, as you saw, clear some items. I think there's some progress to be made. We're hopeful that during the process of our 2020 audit, that when we come back, we will be able to report further progress in the areas as enumerated.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any additional questions from Commission?
Yes,
Again.
ma'am. Oh, well, not just to Mr. Harvey, but to Ms. Francis. That same question, Vice Mayor Bolden just asked, where do you we hear a lot of stuff, where do you say that the city of Pahokee? Can you come to the mic? Can you, Ms. Batista, can you please?
When I came into the city, you guys were behind. It was a mess. No lie, I'm telling you. So I've been cleaning up a mess for almost 5 years. And I feel that we have come to a place now that we can be on time with our audit, that we can record and make sure everything is in the system. like I said, Susan comes in, she's my second pair of eyes to make sure that everything is good, because I do day-to-day operations, but I want to make sure that what I'm doing is correct. That's what Susan reviews and everything. We pay our lobbyists more than we pay Susan. We probably pay Susan nothing. Okay, we pay our lobbyists more than we pay our CPA. So, but I feel the city has come far, has come a long way, and I think that we can continue to make progress. I can only do so much.
Well, I want to thank you, elected officials and appointed officials, for the opportunity to serve. We look forward to serving you over the next years, and also being back with you soon as relates to the FY 2020 audit. Mayor, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey.
And we'll have our next presentation by AE Engineering.
Mayor, Commission, we have Mr. Scott that's going to come up and speak to us for AE Engineering, as well as I have Rod Myrick on the phone from AE Engineering. Mr. Scott. Hold on one second, Rod. Okay. Rod?
Hey, good evening, John.
Good evening. Okay. You can go ahead, Rod.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, as far as Barfield Highway, I know that project is about a week or so before we're actually going to break ground. We are not the CEI, but we are the engineer of record on that project. That's going to be administered by a firm that was selected by the city to administer that project. So we've had some kickoff meetings, and that project is scheduled to start work next week. Submittals, permits, all that's also been in process. So as far as our participation, we're really happy with the progress and ready to get the project started.
Okay. Rod, can you, and I'll allow Scott just to reiterate about the FDOT project, just to give the backup and make sure that, telling the commission that we are moving along with them. But also, can you expand more on the FDOT, the railroad crossing?
Yes, ma'am. So let me step back and let me introduce myself. I apologize for not being there in person, but I'm the president of AE Engineering, and we've been working with the city for several years, working with a various amount of projects. And as far as the project that Jonathan just mentioned, that is a project with the FDOT. It's basically enhanced access and site distance requirements for all the crossings, and it's an ongoing project with the state of Florida. The actual construction's a year or so out, but there's going to be some planning and obviously some design work that's going to happen. And they have reached out, and we have some meetings on that project. So that's another project that'll be going on in the area that we actually been having some interface with it. But as far as the Barfield project, that's the one right now that I know for a fact that everyone should be excited about getting started. It's been a great design process, and now we're going to be able to get it under construction and want to get it done as quickly as possible with minimal impact. So I know Scott's there today if the commission has any questions, but specifically, I know we have some other items, John, you might want me to cover. I can touch on them.
Yes, I would like for you to just touch on phase 4. I know that was, the resolution was passed for the extension, and if you could just speak on how our CEI, the oversight, works for phase 4 and the resurfacing projects.
Phase 4 resurfacing projects, we've done one round of those projects. We weren't originally involved with those first few phases, but the last couple that we've done, they went really well. So, we have the next group. Sorry, hold on one second, Angela. Let's see if I can get some more details on that one.
That's West 3rd Street, 7th, MLK.
Hold on one second. All right. So with those projects, as far as the actual CI services for those, we have provided those primarily just to cover presentation, also the kickoff meetings and that kind of coordination. So there's not a lot of effort there, but those are projects that will do overlay. Those are not complete reconstruction like we're talking about on the Barfield Highway. Those are going to be a lot quicker, and we've done, like I said, this will be the second round of projects we've done such as those. So I don't have the list of all those projects right here in front of me, but I know John has that list, and those are also in the cycle, and we can actually get a schedule out of where we're trying to get those actually out on the street for bid.
Okay. Scott, if you want to expand on FDOT, if they have any questions.
Yeah, I'm here today to represent AE Engineering, and Rodmeyer obviously is more familiar with y'all's projects. I'm new to the city of Pahokee, but I'm not new to DOT, nor to the grant-funded projects. Rod thought that would be a good fit for me to come and meet y'all today and provide any assistance I can. If you have any questions about DOT or their grant-funded projects, I'm here to be an asset and a support to kind of guide you guys through the process, through the program.
Are the CI for the FDOT project on Barfield Highway?
No, we provide
the
engineering
design.
support.
CEI will be Momentum.
That's correct.
Yeah, for Barfield.
Barfield, AE did the design.
So if there's any questions between the
So
CEI,
You work for A&E?
that's correct.
Oh, okay. Okay, so who's the CEI for the projects that we extended today?
Well, CEI will be done by AE Engineering. And Rod, she's speaking on the Phase 4.
So he's the engineer and the CEI?
Well, Rod, okay, explain how with the roads for resurfacing, we came up with the measurements to place, to submit to FDOT.
Yeah, when we actually put in the authorization for the work for those projects, we basically went out, picked out some of the worst corridors throughout the city, took measurements, length times width, and basically came up with the area of replacement that we needed. Went to with a typical section, basically, and an overlay amount, square yardage for the contractor, and put together basically quantity, so to show that this a total cost for this work. That include basically just standard design plus CEI coverage on those projects. So it's not it's part of actually the continuous services that we do on these type of grant projects.
Any other?
Okay, so what he's saying that the price that he came up with was that
7,900 for
94 and change. That's for the work.
Yeah.
And so
that's the length, that's the cost of those roads. That's the cost, the measurement cost of the length of those roads.
Yeah, is that just for resurfacing purposes?
Just for the resurfacing. That has nothing to do with the actual, when the contractor comes back and gives his bid amount for what the resurfacing, what it will cost for equipment and materials. Once they add that information in there, then 94 goes up to whatever, but cannot exceed our $210,000.
My question again, where does his fee come in?
The funds that they're giving us in the program to get as many streets in as possible. So, but there's always going to be markups, and that's just the estimate, but the area total. So.
I understand that, but where does his fee come in?
So, okay, so Rod, Commissioner Perez's question is your fees and services, because in your contract, it does not give a per price for the project. So he submits a task order, and that task is based on his contract. So can you expound upon that, Rod?
Yeah, actually, just as far as a lot of the services that we've been providing, we do it based on our continuing service contract, and each one is a task. So just like any other project, there's, we estimate how many man hours or whatever estimates, and truly, we just really, just provide you guys with
So AE understands that my 210, I cannot exceed the 210. So I've taken into account his cost. Sir?
For the construction, everything. Yeah, I
Yes.
think
I've taken into the account, that's why I say that project cannot exceed 210. When we have the Barfield Highway project, we knew we had 475,000 for design that FDOT was allocating. He could not exceed 475,000, otherwise we'd be up a hill.
I know, but also understand he got paid $475,000
For
the drawings.
design,
Yeah,
because that was FDOT's contract. That's how much money they gave us for design.
so in the contract it said, I'm giving you $475,000 just for you to spend in design.
Just for design. They do nothing else for Barfield Highway.
the way the grant, each grant is different and each contract is different, and that's the thing. When these contracts are developing, we go after different grants, and you work with the Department of Transportation, which I've been working with the department for about 20 years, and that's the reason I wanted Scott to be there today. But he deals with a lot of federally funded contracts, and there are a lot of specific requirements. So some of them you are able to provide services. Certain contracts you're able to provide services that are designed, plus not construction, engineering, and inspection at the level of FDOT, but at a level that still secures the project for whatever funding. But when there are higher requirements on some of these projects, like on Barfield Highway, there's a totally separate CEI. We have no actual requirements on that project. That's a total reconstruction, major input from the department through the plan review process, everything else. So there's just several different type of mechanisms to get the projects out there, and that's the thing that goes on, behind the scenes a lot. So I definitely would love to be here in person to tell you guys, but I think, from the specifics on those two projects in Barfield, it's a totally different dynamic.
Any other questions?
Okay. Any additional questions?
I'm sorry, I have a couple. Excuse me. When I added these up, the roads, I guess we combined on the first supplemental number 2, we combined West 3rd Street to South Lake and then West 3rd Road to Carissa, we combined those two?
Yes, ma'am, and that's where the number
And it came up to like
1,200 and.
Yeah, but on the supplemental 2, those streets only added up to 1,171.
And hold on a second.
And then, which is kind of weird because West 2nd Street on the supplemental 3, we had 238 length, and it says 239 on supplemental 2, which I'm not griping, sounds like we're getting more.
Yeah, and that's why we redid the measurements, because when I did speak with AE and we went back and looked and spoke with FDOT, we did recheck our numbers to make sure that we had the numbers correct, because we know that originally when we did the numbers that were done way before I started, we needed to go back and make sure we had those numbers correct.
Okay, so are you also the engineer, or you're the guy that we would talk to about any of the projects that are running in Pahokee now?
It's a
I'm going to be
mixture.
assisting Rod and working with you guys to make sure that you guys understand this process. And if you need support on any of these projects, then I'm going to be working, to help provide that support.
Okay.
And there are, if I may, for instance, East Lake is MDO.
That was gonna be my question. Are they the ones on
East Lake is
East Lake?
originally MDO. AE Engineering is the engineer of design, but at the time, we had East Lake, Stormwater Village was completed by our MDO engineering firm. So we did not utilize AE. And I think because we had Barfield Highway project going on, former administration chose to go with East Lake, different engineer for that project, so that we could move those projects.
And we were allowed to do that, even though we have, they're the in-house people?
We chose to, like I said, because we wanted to, for East Lake stormwater, we needed to move that, and that is a different funding stream than FDOT. So we knew that we had AE engineer on our FDOT projects. So DEP was our storm drain project, so former administration decided to go with a different, so that we would not take time away from that project, which we know really needed to move forward, and it was a big project.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, I have a couple of questions about Barfield Highway. Are we gonna have some kind of public meeting so that people know what section's gonna be when, kind of like what FDOT did, so they came and they said, okay, we're gonna close this down from this time to this time? Are we gonna have?
In addition to the town hall that we have, we can schedule another, so that once, I know that they are working on the schedule right now, so we can have another town hall meeting. And we do have a town hall plan for the 10th of June.
Okay.
I think, that they went over that one meeting when they were gonna close down.
I know they said they were gonna do it like in sections. I was just wondering if anybody had decided what sections.
At the hospital, I think they're gonna go down from 7th Street first, because they're gonna start bringing in the trucks for the hospital project up the Main Street. So I think they're gonna do up 7th Street first. Close.
And once we get all the submittals in and the permitting, we can go back and revisit, because they're still working on scheduling.
Okay,
That was
so
the original.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure. What y'all are saying is then they're going to start on the south end down towards 7th and work their way back instead of starting at First and working their way down towards 7th.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that at least gives people some kind of idea. Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you for that.
Anything else?
Okay.
Yeah, I have one question. The main question at the community, when is the start date? That's the main question. When is the start
date? They're actually starting right now. We just received the permits, and we just received permitting, and they're making, Rob, what was it, some of the drains, changes to the piping. So I know that you are asking, when will you see a shovel hit the ground?
Yes.
Shovel will hit the ground, I believe in July, we're looking at June, beginning of July, you will see a shovel in the ground.
Yeah,
Because of those storm drains, the sizing of the drains. Go ahead, Rod, I'm sorry.
Yeah, what you'll probably see, according to the CEO, I did talk to Robert. He said they're ready to get started next week. What he means is they're going to start layout. You're not going to see them probably bring in structures, because it's going to take about a month to get everything ordered and fabricated. So with the drainage structures, that's going to take a little bit of lead time. But in between there, you'll see them setting up just MOT and just stuff like that, just prep work. So you're not going to see really reconstruction or closing down. We're not going to close down the entire street, but that's still in the works. And we're consulting as the engineer of record on the project, and obviously we'll make sure everything's in accordance with FDOT requirements and in the best interest of the city. So that's going to be worked out through the next couple of weeks. But you'll see signs and things like that, and arrow boards and that kind of thing, and also survey layout. And they come out doing that kind of stuff, just setting up, and that'll take a couple of weeks prior to you really seeing anything happening. So, best I can give is 30 days or so, when we'll be actually in the construction operations. But we don't have a concrete date, but we hope to be able to give you a firm date on construction start, where it'll be impacting from the CEI, which is the firm Momentum. And I don't know if they're in attendance or not, John.
No, sir, not now.
Okay. All right. So I think they'll be good to speak directly about the actual start, but
So, can I just make one suggestion?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. There's that big sign that talks about the COVID and all of that right across from the Val's Barbershop, or right in that area. Is it possible to have that sign moved down onto Barfield to kind of say to people, okay, looks like we're getting ready, or?
We have, Ms. Nelson and I have pricing for quotes, So we're working on the signage now.
Oh, okay.
We had to get
All right,
prices.
so we're gonna put something
Yes,
up saying
yes,
it's
ma'am.
coming,
We had to
it's
get
gonna
quotes
happen,
and
get
pricing
ready.
so that we
Right.
just don't come up with the sign, but we have to get pricing for it.
Right.
So,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
Okay, we look forward to the workshop or the additional meetings on this project, so
right.
I think we got
Thank
most of
you.
our questions
Thank you, sir.
answered.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you, Rod.
All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone.
Okay. Now we're gonna move to the mayor's report. Look like we're gonna get through a commission meeting, which is great. First of all, I'd just like to thank our interim city manager being in the audience. I think he's gonna be looking forward to his contract being signed, and hopefully maybe by the next commission meeting, he'll be on board. I'll personally like to thank our interim city manager, Jonathan Adams, who have worked very hard over these last 2 months, have done an extremely great job. Working late, always can be called upon, and at a moment's notice can come to a meeting and take care of city business. So we really appreciate that. Not in addition to her, just staff in general, during this time of transition, keeping the ball moving forward. So we want to thank them for that. Just to give you just some things that the city of Pahokee has been doing in the month of May. May been a busy month, but it's a typical month that we have undertaken. This Sunday, I participated in a drive-by birthday celebration for Elsa Singletary. Ms. Singletary has served on some of our city boards and have been real instrumental in assisting the city in various projects, working with the concerned citizen. It was an invitation, I guess, through social media that she requested the Ebony Ladies Society requested the city commission participation in it. So I participated in their caravan and gave a few words. Always try to acknowledge the city commission, not only as a whole, but by name, individual names, and we did that. On Saturday, Commissioner Mervin and I attended and participated in Pahokee High School class of class of 77 annual picnic that was held at the Martin Luther King Park. One of their famous alumni is Ricky Jackson, who's a Hall of Famer. They have a great class. They graduated 140 students in their class, and probably one of the most active classes I have witnessed in many years. They have a high turnout when they sponsor a class reunion. So that was a great event that we helped represent the commission for that event. Also, Commissioner Mervin and I also participated in the groundbreaking for the city of Belglade and Finrock, who's going to be constructing a manufacturing facility that will create hundreds of jobs in the Glades region. I think at least 200 plus good, high-paying jobs. So we just represented the city. Not quite sure how that invitation got out, but at least we got word and participate, because both South Bay and Belglade participate in our groundbreaking when we have something normally. I also participated in the Florida League of Mayors monthly Board of Directors meeting via Zoom. I'm currently now on the Board of Directors of the Florida League of Cities Mayors Conference. I also visited the marina to check on the progress of the cleanup of the algae bloom. It appears to be getting better. As indicated earlier, our interim is looking at reopening the marina back open to the public. Right now, to be honest, folks still travel up there, at their own risk. I don't think it's immediate danger, but it was really designed for a safety precaution to make sure that it wasn't an overbearing odor or smell or possibility of getting in that water. So we're going to soon be opening it up, and we're looking forward to that. I also visited the East Lake stormwater drainage and canal cleanout just to kind of inspect that and see how that project was going. We talked about that a little earlier tonight. The interim city manager, Adams, and I met with attorney Nathaniel Lee. He's an attorney out of Indiana. I think Commissioner Vice Mayor Bolden also had an opportunity to speak with him briefly. He's looking at doing some potential housing development in Pahokee. He spoke with Ricky Jackson, who they went to school, not together, but within sort of the same time frame. And they're both interested in trying to help Pahokee continue to move forward in the area of housing, if it can be possible. So we're looking at some of his ideas of what he may decide to try to take on. Also, the interim city manager myself met with Hall of Famer Ricky Jackson and Micah Sargras about a housing development in Pahokee. And also Mr. Sargras is looking with partnering with the city to possibly seek grant funding for the old rehab of the old city hall. He made a few visits there to look at what that structure would need as far as bringing it back in its historic state without making any major changes to the structure of that building. So at some point you may be getting he may come in and make a presentation if we can work out some type of arrangement, but of course city commission would be involved in that agreement and making sure that it's appropriate and desirable for all of our needs. I also participated in the mayor parade at the South Florida Fair this year. This is the 6th consecutive year that I've had the opportunity to participate in the mayor's parade to help represent the city of Pahokee along with all the other mayors in Palm Beach County. So that was a great event. I also like to thank the Youth Soccer League. They had their first award program banquet this month. All 5 of the city commissions was there, and I just stressed that if you take a look at, and not slighting anybody, but you take a look at some of the programs that maybe Belgrade or South Bay does, you rarely see 5 commissioners there. In most of these programs I'm listing, although I was there, we had in most of these, we had a majority, meaning 3 or more of us was to these events. So this is not events just excluded to myself, just for public information, just sharing some of the things that not only I have been doing this month, but this commission as a collective body has been participating in. Also on May the 7th, which was a Friday, we participated in the food distribution program, and I think again the majority of the commission was there along with our city manager, which should be commendable for each of us. Also, we participated this month in a National Day of Prayer. Again, all of the commission was there. It was held in front of City Hall. I personally want to apologize for the real short notice. I think when I spoke with Ms. Adams, it was maybe 8:30 in the morning. And we planned that program from 8:30 up until 11:30 until the program was to get underway, was quickly formed. Had folks, Commissioner Mervin helped call some of the local pastors. We tried to reach out, and Ms. Adam also, we tried to reach out to as many local pastors that we possibly could. Each pastor provided words, and after their words, they provided and led us into prayer. It was approximately 7 pastors that participated in. I think that was a great program. If you didn't get an opportunity to be there, it's on our Facebook page, so you can review that program. And that's something that the city does on an annual basis, which again was great. I thought it was a great program. Also, interim city manager Adams and myself attended the South Florida Water Management District Governor Board meeting in West Palm Beach to personally thank them for their assistance with cleaning up the algae. I don't know if most of y'all probably know that was a major undertaking. I don't know how many letters Ms. Adam wrote. I don't even know how many press conferences I spoke at. I know I spoke to at least 2 news channels, and we both did a Facebook Live to help educate our community on the concerns and the problems there. In addition to that, the city hosted a community forum led by Florida Health Department to educate the public also on the blue-green algae, the risks associated with it, and we all gave a brief presentation of status. She, along with Sophia Nelson, put that on, which was also a great event that we had in the month of May. And lastly, I would just like to just say that our current and city employees, you know, as mayor personally, I think they have been doing a good job, a great job for that matter. I think they're a dedicated team. They're team players. They're team workers. I know that we as commission all want the best for our city, and we may have a tendency to push, but our push and nudge, you know, primarily should come through the city manager, and we just don't want to push the employees into a corner so much that they feel fearful or threatened that their jobs may be somehow in jeopardy. So we can keep that in mind. I think we would have a happy employee working with us. And lastly, this is to our interim. During your report, if you can address just 2 issues. One, the benches in the bath shower area at the marina. I think at one point there was some benches there. They're no longer there. I don't know who moved them. It's to my understanding they was boarded onto the wall, but for some reason I know Chris Dixon have asked time and time again, and I told him I would definitely personally address that and see when and how we can replace those benches in the bathroom. And the second concern and request, if you can put it in your report, and the other interim city managers here also, when can we expect the splash pad to be back operable? I know there was some question about a valve on there and the water will continue to run. Even if we have staff out there for say 2 or 3 hours that can able to shut the water off, but it is hot. Kids out there playing, and I find it really exciting when I see the children play. But when I made the post again, comment were when the splash pad would be operable. So I wanted to personally at least bring that to the city manager's attention. I know you may be aware, but you may be able to say, you know, this is expense, or this is what the problem is, and this is how we can move forward to have the splash pad up and running. And that's conclude my mayor's report. And now we will move to the interim city manager report.
Good evening, Mayor, Commission, residents. And to start off, I will address those two topics. The splash pad, our Parks and Recs director has submitted a couple of quotes for the valves and whatever he needs to get the splash pad up and running. So I believe that he has one other quote to submit, and depending on which one is the lowest and the most appropriate, we'll have the splash pad up and running by this summer. So he is working on that. That is already in the works.
Excuse me, can I ask a question? Are we putting a timer where they can just hit the button, that kind of thing?
Yes, he's
Okay.
working, yes. So that'll
Okay.
be an option for it.
Thank you.
The benches at the campground, I have already been notified about the benches in the campground, and so we're getting quotes for those. I actually have one that I can donate to the city that was, I had at home and is brand new. So I will be donating that one to the city as well. But we've getting quotes for those benches to install in the restrooms at the campground. Additional items that's on my report will be, as the mayor mentioned, we had a town hall meeting with the Department of Health. And so there were questions that we missed during the presentation and the update. So with those questions, I have sent those off to Department of Health, South Florida Water Management, and Environmental Resource Department with the county, so that we could get answers to those questions, and they will be posted on our Facebook page. So there was about 4 or 5 questions that did not get answered. We also have a virtual town hall meeting that is scheduled for June the 10th at 6 p.m. And I know that it was, we talked about getting some of those questions from our community answered. So this will be an opportunity for the commission to answer some of those questions. We'll do a virtual, and the link will be sent to everyone, and we'll post it on our Facebook page as well as our website. Okay?
That's June the 10th.
That's June the 10th, yes,
At what time?
at 6 p.m.
And,
And you'll get that information this week.
there's no way to have it live instead of
Yes, it will,
virtually?
well, it will be, so when we do it, it'll be, just like we did with our town hall meeting, you can actually ask questions on the Facebook as well as,
I know, but can it be like?
oh,
live?
you want to have it in an open forum? Yes, we can work on that. Okay.
Because not everybody has
Yeah.
access.
Also, we have the bid for our old house at Commissioner's Park, I call it Project 647, will be going out in late June. And in the next commission meeting in 2 weeks, I will be bringing the contract for street repairs. It'll be sidewalks, for sidewalk repair to you all. And that bid originally went out, I believe it was the beginning of the year. So we finalized the details of which streets, which sidewalks needed to be repaired. So I will be
Do we
bringing
know
that.
what streets those are?
Just
ballpark, what area?
Bar Park, I believe it was, oh, geez. I think it's Buddy White and Miss West is on.
I think it's
4th Street. 4th Street. Yeah, I think it's 4th Street. And then your city clerk interviews are being scheduled for this Friday. The first one, I believe, is scheduled for 12:30. And they'll be in 30-minute increments. And we have one candidate that decided she was no longer interested because of the distance.
Do we have the names?
I don't remember who that candidate was, but I can forward you
No, the
that.
names of the ones we're gonna be
She-
interviewing.
Yeah, it was your top 5, but I will send the list of who the final were. One has already been scheduled, but I will send that out to you.
And the first one starts at 12:30, you said?
Yes, ma'am.
And we're doing that how?
We're doing that virtually.
Virtual. So you'll send us the link
Yes,
and
I'll
everything?
send you the link for that.
When's that gonna be?
Friday.
Friday, this coming Friday, the 28th. And your request for a forensic audit from the IG. There is no charge for forensic audit from the IG. And you will, the IG will send an engagement letter. I spoke with Ms. Bojan today, and she has to speak with the IG for his approval, but she doesn't foresee a problem. And once she has gotten with him, she will send out an engagement letter, and it will be in priority areas. They have limited resources, so we will start with the general fund as priority number 1, because they can't lump together all of those different areas from, I know that you all spoke about the general fund, the marina procurement, but because they have limited resources, they will have to focus on one area at a time.
Did they choose the area, or did we suggest?
I based it upon the areas that you spoke about.
But how, the way they're gonna start?
So it will start with the general fund as.
Was that our choice or their choice?
That was
What I'm asking.
what we spoke about in the commission meeting. Even when I spoke with Ms. Bojan, she did listen in on the commission meeting.
I know I listed several areas. My question is, how did the general fund come to the first area?
Well, I chose general fund as priority areas. So unless you want to go with different areas as priority, then I can go back to her and say,
I would like to start with the procurement.
okay. Anyone else?
Hold on one second. Somewhere I have. Okay, so. All right, I have a letter that went to Mr. Williamson in April of 2020 from the John Kerry, the Inspector General, and when in June 25th on 2019, we passed a motion to request their office to review a city procurement process and an audit. Following this meeting, commissioners contacted our office with their related concerns. Well, anyway, the letter goes on to say that they started this and they found that significant issues were identified in the city's 2016 fiscal year external audit that have not been corrected as of the 2018 fiscal year external audit that was issued February 25th, 2020. First critical task for the city is to resolve these audit findings. The external audit firm has provided sound direction to the city to establish sound procurement policies and procedures. Therefore, our office will delay our procurement review of the city as implemented until the external auditor's recommendations are followed. Do you know if we've done that or not?
I will have to find out for sure and get back with you.
Okay, because I don't want
Does
to
it state what that was?
purchase the view of responsible officials and plan corrective actions. City has made the following updates, and they talk about the updates that we made, but then they're saying there's still significant issues that they identified.
The issues there?
No, it's not on here.
Is that not some of the same stuff the auditor was talking about?
Yeah, it says the city has not complied with purchasing procedures, purchases in excess of 10,000, and then they talk about what we did about different things.
And that was from 2016? It says 2016?
Well, they were saying the audit from 2016, the fiscal year external audit has not been corrected, and as of 2018 fiscal year external audit that was issued February 25th, 2020, has not been corrected.
So we're waiting on our FY 2020 audit that may.
I guess I probably should have asked those guys that were here.
Yeah, that may, so I'll get clarity, but I think that may have been, will be identified in
Okay,
their
so
upcoming
then
audit.
there's really not a need for them to do that part of it because it's already been requested. So you might as well,
Just to follow up on that one, start with the marina and campground.
yeah. I agree with that. Because we don't want to waste our time if they've already got somebody working on this. If those issues have been taken care of, then they can go ahead and proceed with that.
Did that conclude your report?
Just one other
Okay.
thing, I wanted to, the Back to School Bash will take place Saturday, the 7th of August at MLK Park. And more information is to come. We're working on the flyer and follow up.
Did Mr. Tate communicate?
I
or
did
wrote you a
speak with
letter
Mr.
so
Tate,
he
yeah,
know
for
that we're not
for
gonna-
yes.
Okay.
So, but this year it will be on the city's event.
And
And,
normally what time that normally start, kind of ballpark?
ballpark, we usually start at 10 a.m.
And do they need to pre-register?
Well, it will be a drive-through, if they can pre-register, but we're still working out some of those minor details, but we have the date, so we'll get, the flyer is to come, we have a draft right now, so I'll get you that information.
Okay.
And one other thing, C10 Canal will be completed at the Herbert Hoover Dike within the next 2 weeks, and the commission has been invited to do a walkthrough. If you're available this week on Thursday. We have spoken with Mr., I believe his name is Mr. Kolak from Tao Construction, and he's invited the commission to do a walkthrough to see the project, which includes a new gate and the bridge structure. That includes the dredging as well as the riprap.
What time is that, Thursday?
Let me know what time is available for you. He didn't give us exact time, but if on Thursday you're available, and I'll
So-
get,
Even sure the location.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
where would we go? Down there where they are, down where Thale is, or?
So the location is, trying to make sure I got the right spot. Location is, trying to get my bearings. Right when you're coming into the city from 715, after you pass our signage. It's on Bacon Point Road, and it sits on the east side. You'll see the entrance. I'll pass around.
Yes, that area they
So it's
work
just
in.
where their staging area is there?
Yeah, staging
Okay.
area.
Okay.
Where they have those little
Yes.
trailers and all that, we just go there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, just below you.
Pass as
Yeah.
well. And also, under my report is our new interim city manager's contract. And I will, pass this out as well as,
Would you like for me to? Okay. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, while Ms. Adams is sending that around, you will have in front of you momentarily the interim city manager's agreement between Mr. Rodney D. Lucas and the city of Pahokee. This agreement was also sent to each of you via email recently. And I want to just walk through it with you, at least the main points, if it's okay to proceed now, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Okay. This is an employment agreement, and it basically refers back to the charter, the code. There are various provisions that relate to interim city manager work for the city of Pahokee. And I'll point out some things that may not be as prevalent, but things that you need to know that are actually in your city code. But let's start. The commission desires, I'm just going to start on page 1, to hire the interim city manager. And nothing in the agreement prevents or limits or otherwise interferes with the right of the manager to resign at any time subject only to the provisions of the city code of ordinances and charter. If you look, so the first page is basically just general provisions setting up the contract terms. The second page, it's the duty of the interim city manager to employ, direct, assign, reassign the city staff. This is, of course, also just basically from the charter in terms of what the manager can do. He can also reorganize and arrange city staff and establish internal regulations, rules, and procedures which the interim city manager deems necessary for the efficient and effective operation of the city, consistent with the lawful directives, policies, ordinance of the city charter, county, state, and federal law. In terms of duties, you'll find that in Section 2. And these are responsibilities and powers of the office. These things also, it refers back again to the regulations that the interim city manager has to abide by, and he shall remain in the exclusive employ of the city, so he cannot have any outside employment. In the event the manager shall serve on any appointed or elected board of any professional organization. In the event any monies are paid or gifts are received by him, that actually has to be turned over to the city. In terms of termination, it is pursuant to 2-9-6 subsection 4 of the Pahokee Code of Ordinances. One of the things that you should be aware of is if the manager is here for more than 6 months, basically. So if it's 181 days as opposed to 180 days, that means you have to pay him pursuant to your Code of Ordinances a severance of 1 month. If he is here longer than a year, and that's up to a year, if he's here longer than a year, it can go up to 3 months. So that's just something to keep in mind as you job search. That's not specifically set out here because it just refers back to the Code of Ordinances, but that's something I want you all to be aware of. The resignation also refers back to 2.98 of the City Code of Ordinances. The compensation on page 3, this is the amount, and this was all done, by the way, this was communicated. I communicated with the interim city manager, and he added a couple of things, and I'll tell you what those things were that were important to him, and I put them in here for your consideration. So this was the amount that was believed to be agreed upon, this $9,833.33 per month, and by weekly installments as a regular employee would be paid. Also, in terms of other benefits, these were some of the things that were discussed with him. You all stated that you want him to have access to an automobile within the pool of automobiles that you have, and so that is specifically stated. Also, the manager wanted to make sure that he could attend and continue to attend the things like the Florida City County Management Association, the International City County Management Association, and he wants those things to be reimbursed with approval of the commission. So once he submits any supporting documents, he wants to be reimbursed for attendance at those things. And then in addition to that, one local community organization of his choice. So whatever that happens to be within the community, he would like for that to be reimbursed as well. In addition to that, the manager is looking for a $100 mobile telephone allowance per month to be used for city purposes only. So on a phone that he would use only for city purposes. And this, he says, would offset the cost that he would have to pay for basically being contacted on his own phone, so that $100 per month to be used for that purpose. In addition, under the Section 7, the interim city manager shall fix any such other terms and conditions of employment as it may determine from time to time relating to the performance of the interim city manager, provided such terms and conditions are not inconsistent with or do not conflict with this agreement. So there may be other things that may come up, and as long as they don't conflict with this agreement or the city charter, local ordinance, et cetera, that would be done. The notices is, section is pretty standard. And then finally, the entire agreement constitutes, this is the agreement that you have, and if things are not specifically set forth in this agreement and otherwise outlined by your charter, your code of ordinances, or by state law, ethics ordinances, et cetera, then it is not intended that it be something that's covered. Like, for instance, there is no severance for anything less than 180 days of service. So that's pretty much the contract. It's pretty simple. We tried to make it as simple as possible, and I can certainly answer any questions that you may have. And of course, the manager is here as well. I mean, the interim city manager is here as well.
I have two questions. One, I got answered because it says the 14th of June, and I know that we had asked him to start on the 7th, but.
He would like to start on the 14th of June.
Right. Okay. And then under paragraph, I guess it's section 1C. It gives him the right to employ, direct, reassign, assign, evaluate, and accept resignations of city staff under his supervision, but it doesn't give him any ability to terminate anyone.
Well,
Shouldn't that be in there as well?
That could certainly be in there because in the Code of Ordinances, any duties and responsibilities that a regular manager would have is actually specified in your Code of Ordinances that the city manager would have. So although it's not here, we can certainly put it here, but it's understood because it does relate back to your Code of Ordinances and your charter, which allows for the city manager to have any and all duties that a regular city manager would have, including termination.
Yeah, because you made all of that and didn't put that in, I just think it should be added, so.
Oh, absolutely. So what I did,
expect you to go and do that,
what I did with this was I tried to mimic it after some of the provisions that you were already used to seeing in Mr. Williams's old contract, and I just pared it down, way down, so that it only related to, what a interim city manager might do.
And do we have any idea what we paid for? I know we paid for Mr. Williamson a cell phone.
You didn't take the cell phone.
No, I know, but I'm saying we had one that we paid for him to use, right? Was it around that amount? I don't remember. To tell you the
I will
truth.
have to go back and look what the cost is.
Okay. Thank you. That's all my questions.
In addition, of course, okay, so we'll entertain a motion to have this contract executed. If there are any changes.
Make a motion that we accept the interim city manager employment agreement between Rodney D. Lucas and the city of Pahokee.
Entertain a second.
I second it, Mayor.
It has been moved by Vice Mayor Bolden and properly second by Commissioner Mervin that the city enter into a contractual agreement for interim city manager with Rodney Lucas. Call for questions. Hearing none, are you ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bass,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bowler,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Marvin,
Yes.
Commissioner Perez.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passed by unanimous vote. Now we'll move to the city attorney report, if there's any.
Oh, wait, I had a couple of questions. I didn't know she was finished for the city manager. Can I, is that okay? Because she's not done with her report yet. Okay, so, is it possible for, I know we had talked a while back about having the meetings done in Spanish for YouTube. And can we look into what it would cost or what the ability is to have that done? Because I've had a bunch of people ask me that.
Okay, I can check the costs and look into what it means to do that, get it done.
Okay. And then do we have an update on the Marina restaurant status? What are we doing there?
I believe that it is on the Board of Governors' agenda for June the 15th. And that is all that I've been updated with.
I've got issues with that, in the sense that there was communications that were done behind the rest of the commissioners' back, even questions that was brought up by the state. They had an issue that you had new commissioners and they wanted to know, you know, what our vote was on it or opinion. I have the emails right here. And I'm gonna go through them in chronological order like I have them. Because to me, it's a little bit concerning. In the past, there has been an abuse of power by part of the commission, and it seems that it's continued, and it continued right as soon as we got elected. The abuse of power continued. Like our first meeting, I believe it was on. Let me find it.
Okay, for the sake of time, we're gonna move forward. We can come back to that if we get an opportunity, as Ike said, after 9, and I want to at least hopefully try to get through a complete commission meeting according to the agenda presented to us. City Attorney, you have any report?
No, sir.
Thank you. We don't have any old business, don't have any new business. I'm going to try to give Commissioner Perez, and we're going to try to move forward. I'm going to go quickly then. Future agenda items, I'm going to limit this to one item that you want to recommend each. You have any, Commissioner Gonzalez, that you would like to see discussed in the future?
Well, actually, just been some events going on throughout the city as a guy exposing himself to children and people. And I spoke to law enforcement about that, and they had a lot of complaints actually in reference to this particular person. So I wanted to know if there's a way, because I know back in the days they had Crime Watch through the neighborhoods. If there's a way we can start that all over again throughout the city, because if we have people like that on the streets, and as soon as an adult's not around, there's a kid there, we jeopardize that kid's life, or something could happen to that kid, or even the elderlies that aren't being watched. Is there a way we can start a crime watch organization or something throughout the neighborhoods?
So your item would be to have a discussion on implementing a crime watch program?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll second that motion. Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Gonzalez and second by the mayor to have on the next or future agenda item, implementation of a crime watch, discussion and implementation of crime watch program.
Shouldn't we ask, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but shouldn't we ask Lieutenant Kennedy to come and be a part of that discussion? Yeah.
The city manager would pull everything that we need.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Call for question. Ready for a vote? Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mayor Bab,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Boland,
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Marvin,
Yes?
Commissioner Perez.
Yes.
We're gonna move to Commissioner Vice Mayor Boland. Any topic that's limited to one tonight. That'll give us 5 if we get 5. If not, that's good. But take the main one that you'd like to have discussed.
No, I'm good.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Perez, future agenda item.
Future agenda items, no, I wanna discuss this.
What is you discussing though? Maybe that can be a future. I doubt we're gonna be able to get in depth on that. What is?
Well, I would like to address, the marina and campground, the restaurant. I would like to have both, Everglades and JPT here so that, they could come into an agreement. I think everything could be worked out.
Any second on that?
If that's the case, yeah.
Second?
And I'd like to do it before they go in front of the Board of Trustees. I don't know what day it's in June, but if we have to do a special meeting, then we should do that.
She said, they're gonna be in front of the, you said the
15th? I think
15th?
it's the
Is what you
15th.
said?
And we have a commission meeting on the 8th.
8th? We have a commission meeting on the 8th?
I think it's the 8th.
Okay.
It's the next
Okay,
one.
so then we could put it for the,
Been moved and properly second that we have a discussion on the marina restaurant lease and invite JPTD Holdings and
I have a question, Mary.
Everglades.
How can you do that if you're gonna from listening to what Commissioner Perez is saying, you mean work out? What do you mean by work out? Because from what she was saying, that there's gonna be some stuff that come on a future agenda that you're gonna be voting on. So you could discuss stuff that's probably gonna be coming up for vote. To me, that, I don't think you can.
okay. Good observation. City Attorney, is there is apparent conflict there? We have a lease agreement with JPDT Holdings, and then she's requesting also to invite Mr. Lambert, who had a previous lease that didn't move forward with the commission, and we didn't move forward with a current lease. So
it is my understanding that one lease is being approved and the other one has not been approved as of yet.
Is It's
The
been,
state is not approved until the state approves it. And JPT is still waiting for approval. And I think both of them could be approved. I think everything could be worked out so that we could move forward.
Are we trying to work it out, or have both parties agreed to?
However, they decide to do it, but I think it could work, it could be worked out.
and I'm gonna put this out this way, we're gonna, one way or the other, this process is gonna get us into a lawsuit.
It already will be unless
And
they
then
come into an agreement.
there are some concerns too, where commissioners is calling the current leasee, potential leaser, and using Untitled as, you must work with the other entity to move this lease forward. I don't know, that's a big violation if that's occurring. That's just a rumor now, but that's what I'm hearing
think you better
from
get
some
your
of
rumors
these,
straight.
so some of these,
Because rumors get people in trouble.
okay.
Mayor Bab,
It's facts that count.
if you can remember in the past, the other lease, there is only one lease that sits on the governor's desk. That's JPDT holding, lease. If you can remember, the other lease that was going forward by the commission, the majority of the commission, that lease were canceled by the commission. Also notified with the state that lease was canceled. There's no two leases on the desk. And to say and to try to make JPDT come into a partnership with someone else for one entity for the rest, how do you know that's what their preference are?
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
So you cannot, that's not for we cannot make them do that.
I'm gonna explain it this way. That lease with Robert Lambert Group, the potential lease was like a engagement, but the marriage didn't occur. That engagement was called off. So theirs wasn't a marriage, there wasn't a lease signed by the city. There's not a lease acted. There's no two leases sitting on the governor's desk to decide which one they're gonna vote on. There's only one lease, so that's just my interpretation, but going back to our city attorney to try to at least steer us out of legal harm, the question is if this would be appropriate request to have these two entities, one that's a former potential leaser versus a current one to come in and see if they can broker or work out some type of agreement. I think if they did that, that should be on an individual decision between those two, and we shouldn't be involved in that process.
It is my understanding, based on Mr. Richardson, that they have two recommended for you to bring it in front, since you had new commissioners, to bring it back in front of us so that to see what the new commission decided on the entire issue, which you guys made the decision without letting us, I believe that we were set up actually when we were invited to that conference, and we were pinned, and we had all this, thing with the TV or whatever it was. We attended out of courtesy. I didn't know what was going on. And then I see that you followed that same night at midnight, telling him that we all attended and we were all on board with their decision. Because he suggested that to you, and then you went behind us and said that.
Well, Mr. Mayor?
So did the intercity manager. She said that it wasn't necessary, that she was the interim city
What?
manager, and I have the emails right here.
You have a lease agreement that was signed in September, 6 months prior to the new commissioner coming on board, and now you're considering going back.
I'm not considering, this is what
I'm
he
just
told.
saying, someone is considering having the new commissioner have a say-so in an agreement that was made 6 months ago. That to me don't even make any sense. That means you can come back now and any decision that was made previously to attempt to change or rearrange. That's something you have to say, if I was on the commission, maybe I wouldn't have voted that way, but I wasn't on there. That agreement has been legally executed by the current commission that was there. That's a lawsuit. I mean, I know you are comfortable probably with lawsuits, but I don't want to continue to get the city involved in lawsuits unnecessarily.
And you don't think that you are considering a lawsuit on both parties?
If I might,
But I think our attorney wanted to chime in, so I want to give her that opportunity just for legality for waiving.
Well, I guess along the same lines of what you said, Mr. Mayor, decisions that were made, the last decision that the commission made was a decision to go with the group, the last group. And we made all efforts to ensure that when the city commission at the time released itself from the previous group, that we did it in a way that would protect the city to the greatest extent possible. I can remember, I can remember actually having them on the record state that, they understood certain things, that they understood that there had not been an agreement yet. I mean, so we did everything that we possibly could have done to sever ties with the previous company. I'm comfortable with that. At this point, and while anybody can sue, you're absolutely right, that's something that, anybody can do. But since, similar to what the mayor said, it was a decision, and I don't remember the group, I apologize, but the latest group that the city made the decision to enter into an agreement with and to take that agreement to the state to be approved, that is what stands. And that was done prior to the time that this new commission set. And certainly, that's one of those things that I guess so if the interim city manager were acting in a way to further that decision that had been made, I just don't want there to be any kind of a shade on her, in any negative light, because really she was carrying out the vote, and still the vote of the commission. So I just want to, just be clear, she wasn't doing anything wrong if she was furthering or doing something to further that vote of the commission, because nothing has changed, and that was the vote of the commission.
And there is no policy that I was aware of that says that I have to bring it back to the commission. My email stated, as it stands, we move forward. No one had said to me at the time that I answered that email that we're backing up. So there was no policy that I was aware of from the state, from anywhere that says I back up.
I don't know about anybody else, but if she has emails that say that we were asked, should we bring it back in front of the commission, and then nobody even mentioned it to anyone here other than the mayor, and he made that decision on his own, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, but I don't think that that was the right thing to do. I think the right thing to do would have been to bring it to the commission and let the commission decide if they wanted to do something or not do something, if they wanted to look at it or not look at it, but to just make that decision on your own without informing anyone.
I think according also to Robert Rules and Order, that the only commissioners that can bring back a decision is one that was on the prevailing side of the issue. Not even you, I don't believe, can, because you voted initially against that, so it would have to be myself or Commissioner Mervin that could even bring that up for readdressing.
But I'm not saying, I'm not
Yeah,
arguing that point one way or the other. What I'm saying is.
I kind of stand by that because at the time, there was a gathering, there have been meetings since then. No commissioner has verbally said, I am against that lease agreement that I had heard. So as the mayor, I am the spokesperson for the commission once a decision has been made. To me, a decision to move forward with this new lease was made legally by the current commissioner that was sitting here at that time. So my job is to provide guidance to whoever questioned it, whether or not we are in agreement. There's no changes been made. That was a legal decision. It's binding. We're ready to move forward with the governor and the cabinet deciding on the contract.
I personally, I just don't think it was the right thing to do to not notify the commission that there was some question. I mean, you just made that decision without any input from the commission at all.
And my thing is to make it clear, it's not that I am against it.
If you bring it up, you probably is
It's not
against
that I am against it, okay? You have two entities, okay, in the entire marina. One that was given all three access, and one that was given the restaurant, okay? I believe that there is a way to work it out so that they both take occupancy and not risk a lawsuit, because they each have grounds for lawsuit. And in the past, this city hasn't been looking out for the interests of the city when it came to lawsuits. A lot of these lawsuits, and you said that I'm accustomed to lawsuits, a lot of these lawsuits could have been prevented have they made the right legal decision.
Okay, it's 9:30.
Furthermore, I like to make a motion.
What's your motion?
My motion is to dismiss the city attorney because she has not shown the best interest of the city in the past, and she continues to do so. So, I know that we have to give her 30 days, and further, we're giving her 30 days suspension with pay, so she could be dismissed as of today. That is my motion.
Mr.
And
Mayor?
make sure that she turns in all the records and everything that has to do with the city.
Mr.
as
Mayor?
stated in the contract.
Mr. Mayor, can I say something?
Yes, ma'am.
I pursuant to the meeting that we had a couple of weeks ago, I filed a very strong motion. And I take exception to it because I was doing my job. And I'm sure that's where this is coming from, and that's unfortunate because I represent the city well. Not only is this item not on the agenda and not on the agenda as a future agenda item as per your code, but I would say that, I would, this is one of the things that when I'm put in the position of fighting a commissioner on the other side on an issue, I'm a litigator. I'm going to do my job, and I'm going to do it as well as I can. And I filed a very, very strong motion. And so I would just ask that each of you allow me the opportunity to discuss this with you, because I do think not only is it being brought up improperly, but I do think there's an intent behind it, and that's unfortunate.
I really think that due to the litigation, I don't know if that motion even appropriate, because she's representing the city in a lawsuit that you have filed against the city. I really question your ability to make that motion. You should excuse yourself anything dealing with the city attorney long as she's representing us on a case against you. I think that's a conflict there, clearly.
Why is it a
And I will say, Mr. Mayor,
I'm not suing the city attorney.
I will
You're
say,
suing the city, but she's representing us in that suit.
I'm going after my legal fees that I rightfully spent because you guys suspended me wrongfully. That the judge ruled that I was right and you were
Judge,
wrong.
let me
And
just
it's
say,
the suggestion
that's not
of
the only
judge
issue.
That I collect my fees.
That's not the only issue, but that's not exactly true, Madam. But
Yes,
the
it
the
is.
other
I have
the
the
other
order.
issue is a summary judgment motion that I filed today in the lawsuit that I had to file because the judge has a calendar for a trial that her husband is involved in, and so I think I'm doing my job, you all. You just need to know that I'm doing my job. I filed a very strong motion on the fee issue, and I filed a summary judgment motion because I had no choice but to go forward and protect the city and defend the city. So there are two different lawsuits, unfortunately, that Commissioner Perez or her family is on the other side of. I'm in this position because that's what my contract says I do. I would love for somebody else to handle these things, but that's what my contract says I do. I do it at no extra cost to the city, and I'm kind of put in a box in this situation, which I, regret, but I'm going to do my job until you all tell me to do otherwise. So
This meeting, I think that motion, based on the fact that a lawsuit has been filed and you're representing the city against a commissioner, I don't think you can make a motion or should make a motion to terminate a city attorney in that case. Now, the other two could do something
What difference does it
similar.
make if another attorney comes and still represents the city? The lawsuit is still there, it's still pending. It makes no difference whether she represents it or somebody else represents the city.
Commissioner Perez, I've done nothing adverse to the city. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing.
That's your opinion,
Okay, and
not
you
mine.
can't even say I have. There's nothing.
I adjourn the meeting due to time.